What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Off Topic Podcast. I'm Dan the Man.
I'm Jose.
And today we got the wonderful
Billy
the Kid. Well,
Yeah.
Just Billy. He's not a kid.
No.
But what's going on, Billy? How you feeling today?
Doing all right, man. Glad to be here.
Good. Yeah,
Appreciate
man.
y'all
Yeah.
having me.
Honored to have you on, man. Honored to have you on. You're our fourth guest, like I said. So it's going to be a good conversation today, man. Also, we got Mr. Kitten, so don't mind him. He's going to be walking around. As you can see, he's getting a little bit bigger than the last time you guys have seen him. Hopefully he's not as annoying today. But, yeah, man. So talk to us, Billy. What's going on, man? What's new?
Nothing much, man. Just, working every day that I
Yeah.
can, trying to keep the family up. Got a kid that my wife had in September of last year, and got another one on the way now. Due in February.
Hold on. You got another one on the way?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know that. Yo,
February
congratulations,
24th, man. I don't even know what's coming. I'm terrified, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you know if it's boy or girl yet?
It's a boy.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got a girl right now and about to have a boy, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank
man.
you.
That's super
That's awesome.
exciting.
Thank you.
Two kids, two dogs, man. Yeah, you rocking.
I know. I need a second job now.
There you go. Yeah,
Everything
speaking
comes
of
in
work,
twos.
man, you wanna tell people a little bit about what you do, man?
Yeah, man. So I currently work for the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. Just a patrol deputy out there, which you guys think of normal, when you get stopped by somebody for speeding or, you do something, we're the ones that show up. Unfortunately, people don't really call the cops just to say hi anymore. But
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I work there now. Worked there since about December of last year. So I'm coming up on my year mark now.
Okay.
And before that, worked for the Leesburg Police Department. So been in Loudoun County, born and raised, worked in it my whole career.
Yeah.
So I'm going on now just over almost 6 years now in law enforcement. So
Okay.
definitely been life changing and definitely a good thing, to experience.
Yeah. Have you seen, like, because as kids you always thought cops are like the shit, man. Like they're like the superheroes of the town, Have you kind of seen as you get older, like, this is the reality, like you're sought after as like the person that's like there to basically keep everyone at peace and also save people,
I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I ran from the cops.
Yeah,
In high school, I ran from the cops. We had a house party once, and cops busted it. Come downstairs, y'all got a bunch of alcohol. You're 17, 18 years old. You're freaking out. You're running. So
Yeah.
ran from the very department that I worked for. So never thought I'd be a cop growing up. Never, didn't dislike cops, but just never really thought it would be a career path for me until it kind of just came to fruition one day. I was sitting there and I was in between jobs, needed something to do. I had the military background, and I just kind of thought, like, let's go on Indeed real quick and see what we got. And so the first thing that popped up was Leesburg Police Department. And I thought, there's no way they're going to hire me because everybody wants to be a cop. So it was 2018, so it was like or 2017 at the time. So
Yeah, this was before the whole.
Yeah, it was before everything. So it's like, people actually wanted to be cops, and it was fun. They thought they had good retirements and all that good jazz. And, I just kind of, applied. And next thing you know, I got an email the next day saying, hey, can you come to the interview process? And I showed up, and I don't know how they picked me, but out of 100, and I think there was like 130 people that applied, they picked me and one other guy.
That was quick. The next
Yeah.
day. How tall are you?
6'2".
Yeah, they
That's
saw that. They look like the
yeah.
football stats.
Yeah, right.
6'2", big brolic motherfucker. Let's put him on the
this
team.
This guy can tackle anybody, man. Ain't nobody getting away shoplifting these days.
Just send him an email like, "What's your 40, man?"
What's your vert?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you got football. You got a football background, right?
Yeah, I played football just in high school. I played at Heritage.
Yeah.
Played one semester at County. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Shout out Heritage High School, pretty good school. I went to high school for a little bit there.
yeah, they got a good. They had a good program. We were actually the first team, and I believe the school history to make the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
when you were on the team?
Yeah, yeah. We had a money quarterback. Remember Austin Nelson?
Yeah.
That guy killed it, man.
Austin
What is he doing nowadays, man?
He's,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just killing it in life, man.
Yeah.
You follow people on Facebook from high school, and you kind of just, passively follow their journey, and you kind of give them props when you see it, and you just love to see him do well. And he's one of those guys just out there killing it right now.
Yeah, it's crazy to see like the people we grew up with, man. Like you said, in high school, you see like the different paths people take. Because once you graduate, you really find yourself. Because in high school, we're like the kid, like you said, man. We're like underage drinking parties, or like Jose and I, we're out there fighting people and doing dumb shit all the time. But once you graduate, you really start to find yourself. And now you see, like you said, man, he's killing it. You went in a career path that you didn't even think you'd go on, but it's an awesome path.
Yeah, it's actually really awkward working in the county that you grew up in. Because,
Yeah.
you run into people you went to school with. And,
Yeah.
You
So you probably see people like not in their best light sometimes.
Nah, like I said, man, no one calls the cops just to say hi. They call
Yeah.
them at their worst part in life and
Yeah.
the worst moments in life, and it's something they'll always remember. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool, pulling over my first teacher that I had.
Ooh.
I was like, hey, remember that one test you you didn't curve that grave? I ain't gonna curve this ticket. You know what I mean?
I see you in court, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a it's a rewarding career path. I mean, like I said, it's weird, working in the area you grew up in because you see people, but you also get to see people succeed. You run into them at a certain job or something like that, or you see
Yeah.
them on a call and, you're like, hey man, what's going on? And they're like, oh, I'm married with kids. I got this great job, just started it. And it's pretty exciting to see everybody kind of grow up and develop. And like you said, people take definitely different paths in life. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's a good path, sometimes it's a bad path.
Yeah, and I think we see too because we live in the same place we grew up in, the same town. So I see the same thing. Like you'll go to somewhere to like catch up with someone or like, yo, let's go grab a drink in there real quick, and you see the same people in there all the time. You're like, damn, like.
Yeah, Spankies, man.
Yeah, Spankies.
Spankies,
Yeah, one of those things.
Out in the kitchen and bar used to be known as bunkers.
Yeah, bunkers. Yeah. We were in there recently playing pool, and it's like, damn, man, like it's just a lot of people from high school. And it's like the hangout, man. But yeah, it must be a cool career path. Well, not cool. I don't say cool, but like exciting.
It is. I mean, every shift is different. You never know what you're gonna get. You're kind of what they call in our industry. You're kind of the slave to the radio. So you kind of have to sit there and just wait for that next call to come out, and you never know what it's going to be. And there's a reason that cops are one of the shortest lifespans, not only by just health but by suicide too. It's just because you're sitting there with your buddy talking about the football game that you watched or whatever, and having some pizza for lunch, whatever. Next thing you know, you're going to that fight in progress or that domestic in progress where you're just running balls to the wall, lights and siren down the road, and you just don't know what you're getting into. And I always say to people when they ask us why we can't fix their problems right there, is I tell them, like, listen, you're asking me to fix 20 years of marriage in 30 minutes.
Yeah. You don't know the ins and outs, man. You don't know how many times that they've had this issue before even calling you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things that you got to figure it out. You got to have a goal of, just keep everybody safe for the night. So that's why I tell all my trainees, because I'm a field training officer, so I train new officers and deputies out of the academy. I tell them all, like, listen, you just got to go to these calls and you got to know what your end goal is.
Yeah.
You get a call for a domestic. What's your end goal? Okay, make sure everybody's safe. Make sure parties are separated if they need to be. Make sure everybody goes where they need to go, whether that's jail or a hotel or a friend's house or something like that, and how you can facilitate that. So it gets kind of interesting for a little while, but it's rewarding because there's a lot of, with every bad there are good.
Right.
So you get those people when you're in line at Chick-fil-A waiting for your order and they pay for your meal, and so it definitely is good to feel appreciated by the people you
I like
work
doing
for.
that. I did that at Chipotle a couple times, and then I realized one time I went that officers get free food anyway, so I was like, I'm gonna comp their food. And she
Where's
was
that
like,
at?
The one in Leesburg. She was like, oh no, that
need to
they
go
get
there.
free food, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I think it was half off. That's what it was, and I was like, okay, well, shit. I mean, I'm gonna pay for it anyways, like
Yeah.
But
that's like, we had a guy, so 7-Eleven, we get free coffee at 7-Eleven. It's like known. I mean, I don't know if
That's why y'all always in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We get free coffee from 7-Eleven, so and like people don't know that, so they see us in there on like a cold day or like Christmas or holiday or something, like getting coffee, and like, hey, I'm gonna do something nice and take care of his coffee. And there was one 7-Eleven I was hanging out. We always used to go there at the beginning of shift to kind of just hang out and just unwind from the day before or something like that, and we'd just be talking. And so I got a cup of coffee, and we always still go to the counter and act like, just because sometimes you might get a clerk that doesn't, want you to have it for free and wants to charge you. Next thing you know, you're stealing a cup of coffee as a cop. That looked that great. So you still go up to the counter, and this one guy was like, hey, I'm going to pay for his coffee. Don't worry about that. And the clerk was like, all right, cool, yeah. So he took his card and everything, and so we're hanging out front. The guy leaves, and everything is feeling all good. Like, I just paid for that cop. I did something so good. I went back inside and I was like, you knew what you were doing. He's like, hey man, listen, you get your cup of coffee and I get my $5,
There you go.
It's a win-win. So that was kind of cool. It's funny just to interact with people like that. And that's part of the job too. You grow with your community, you go to these calls and people trust you and they want you to do a good job for them. And so you show up and you grow really good relationships with them.
Yeah. And then you build, like I know a couple guys from the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office that I would see at the bars all the time back when I was at the bars all the time. I was in there on like Fridays and Saturdays, and I'd be like, yo, what's up, my man? How's it going? Everything's cool because I'm real friendly. But then you see them, you see them. One time I hit something on the road in my car, and it ruined my steering. So I'm on the side of the road like, fuck, and the sheriff comes up behind me. And it was a guy that I know from always seeing him out there. He's like, hey, man. I was like, oh, what's up, man? How you doing? He's like, you all right? You need anything? I was like, nah, man, my car's it's fucked. I think I can get it home. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to sit here until you get it figured out, man. But it's cool because, like, I knew him, right?
Yeah.
And people don't realize that law enforcement are humans, too, It's not like you see the lights and like, oh, shit. Like, we're fucked, It's like, unless you're like seriously breaking the law, bro, then you got something that you got to worry about, but that's between you and God,
Yeah.
And the police officer.
Like, people are like, oh shit, the cop. I'm like, bro, like, what are we worried about? I'm not worried about anything. Like, or if I get a ticket, it's like, damn, I mean, I deserve that one, I'll go in there.
Right.
I was on my phone, I got pulled over by a guy. I can't remember what his name was. Real cool guy, but he had like the biker the biker boots on.
Yeah,
and
it's like a
everything.
motor unit.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he was in a truck. He was in an unmarked truck, and he was next to me. He's like, I was riding next to you, and you're on your phone, man. He's like, I was waiting for you to put it down. Gave me a ticket. I was like, damn. But yeah, I went in there. I was like, guilty, man. I mean, he's a cool guy. You know, I said he was cool, real cool with me, and he just let me know, hey, man, get off your phone. Paid my fine, was on my way. But like some people make that into like fucking headache.
Yeah, dude, the sovereign citizens are they're very few and far between. I mean, I probably in my career only dealt with probably like 2 or 3 of them, but they're those guys that don't subscribe to the Constitution and they don't subscribe to the laws of the land,
Yeah.
and they feel like they roll the window down like a quarter of an inch, and
Yeah.
they
All that
ask-
technical shit. That's like, it's cool. I get you're trying to like exercise like all the knowledge you have, but dude, life is just so much easier if you're just cool.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great thing that we have is law enforcement is called discretion. So, I don't have to charge. There's letter of the law versus spirit of the law. So, letter of the law says if you go, 56 and 55, I can pull you over and write you a ticket.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
spirit of the law is like, is that really going to do anything? Like, what are you trying to enforce there? Like,
Yeah.
I worked on night shift. I just got off night shift about 2 weeks ago. So, I worked out west in the Western Loudon area. So, right there on Route 7 by, you know where Hamilton is?
Yep.
So, I used to sit in the median right there watching people going westbound. And like, 65, 70, I'd be like, maybe I flash my lights and get them to slow down. It's kind of funny to watch the radar go from like 75 to 55, like that.
Yeah,
And you're
like
just like,
that,
yeah. So, I mean, at that point, you kind of know you got your point across.
Yeah.
They're slowing down. They know that, we're watching, that we're trying to. And it's not just because I'm trying to write tickets. It's because I've gone to so many accidents on Route 7 where somebody going 85, 90 miles an hour and they plow into a deer.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to avoid that deer, and next thing you know, they go into a tree and they wrap themselves around a tree.
And that's brutal, especially when I fast. I hit a deer a couple weeks ago, but I was going to speed limit. That's one thing I always like, because my job depends on my license. So like I'm guilty of sometimes going like 60, 65 and a 55. But I'm like, oh, hold on, but let me slow it back down. Because I did get pulled over once when I was younger, and the guy was like, I could give you a ticket just for a 1 mile an hour over. He's like, that's the law, bro. But thankfully he gave me a break. But ever since then, I was like, dude, I can't be doing that shit. But damn, definitely hit that deer. I think it was going like 45.
Yeah.
But imagine him going 90 and he came out.
Yeah,
God, man,
yeah,
it's a
and that's
different
kind of
story.
why I do that, is just because you kind of, maybe that guy when he goes down that street again, he doesn't go that fast because he's like,
Yeah.
well, the cops are sitting there, and it's like he's not worried about hitting a deer, he's worried about getting a ticket. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone because you're getting him to slow down, and maybe he doesn't actually end up killing himself by wrapping himself around a tree.
Yeah,
'cause-
Yeah.
because those are brutal, man. I got a couple buddies in the towing industry too, and they'll like post like the accidents and stuff on their stories. I'm like, damn, like how does something like that happen? It's always usually speed, speed or alcohol.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, if you could avoid that just in you just flashing your lights, you're doing a whole lot more than people realize.
Yeah.
And I know people that are like, fucking cop, what's he doing sitting there? I'm like, are you breaking the law? No, don't let it bother you. Like,
Yeah.
we drive by people all the time, like doing like radars and all that. And it's like, dude, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it can be kind of subjective depending on what officer's sitting out there. I mean,
Yeah.
some people are they're just hell bent on 10 miles an hour over, you get a ticket.
Yeah.
But some guys are like, I'm not, that doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you just kind of, it's unfortunate you get some people that are just in it for tickets and in it for stats and everything.
And that could be argued like for any kind of like job or position. There's people that are just showing up to get a paycheck, you know what I mean? And there's people that actually care about their job, or maybe not necessarily care so much about the job, but at least like the environment that they create for people, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, yeah, it's the understanding
both.
of like leniency, man. They understand like, yo, they're people too. Let's let them. The flow of traffic. Like if you're on over 28 in the morning, the flow of traffic's like 65.
Right.
It's always 65. So like you'll always understand like, yo, there's always people going at speed. But then when you get the guy flying down 80, going 80, weaving through traffic, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He must be stopped.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you this: and I've Googled this a bunch of times, and I've heard different answers, and I have friends. I mean, is there a quota or not, bro? Like, I just
No,
need to know.
so-
I just need to know.
That is that one question that everybody asks.
I'm
and they're-
sure
They're like,
about
man,
a
what's
lot.
your quota? Like, have you met your quota yet? It's the end of the month. And I'm
7
like,
arrests.
that's why I try to avoid pulling people over the last week of the month, because
Yeah.
I know I'm going to go up to their window and be like, oh, so it's your quota, huh? Am I the one that gets you there or not? But no, so actually quotas, they've always been outlawed in a way of like in civil court, an officer could take his department, if they ding him like, hey, you don't get 30 tickets a month, they could have always taken him and been like, hey, like, you dinged me on my job performance, and there's a lot of avenues you could have taken that. But actually, last year Virginia passed it, made it actually a law. So now it's a law to where departments cannot enforce quotas in any way, shape, or form for any kind of enforcement action.
Okay.
So if
you
it's ever
go.
found that they do get charged or do make quotas, then they could be shut down, discredited. There's a lot of things that could happen. People charged, whatever it might be. So yeah, it's actually a law in Virginia now. You can't have a quota.
Yeah, because I think the goal isn't for you guys to go like, I mean, obviously the law's a law, but it's not, the goal isn't to like micro manage the entire, population.
Yeah.
It's just
Because you completely lose that public trust. If
Yeah.
you're
Exactly.
constantly like just stopping people and charging people, it's like no one trusts that you're actually doing, what your job is. Now, but I can tell you with the whole quota thing, so no, there's no quota. But, when you sign up to be a law enforcement officer, whatever your title is, it's expected that you do your job.
Yeah,
Part
of
of the
course.
job is doing traffic enforcement.
Yeah.
So if you go 6 months and you haven't stopped anybody,
0 tickets.
it's like they're gonna look at you. It's kind of like if you're a mechanic and you never change anybody's oil, they're gonna
Yeah.
look at you and be like, "Do you know how to change an oil, man?
Yeah.
Like, you know what you're
Yeah.
doing here?
You know what your job
You know how to use that
description
radar
is?
gun?
Yeah, you signed up for this, man. Like, what the hell?" But
Yeah.
There's a lot of technicalities in that too, though, right? Like, and just like, even just like traffic stops, right? Because I was in, like I said, so I was in court a couple weeks ago for being on my phone, but in there I got to see a lot of people like in their charges, and
Yeah.
like so one guy, there was a couple guys with speeding tickets, and they're like, yo, we wanted to check his radar aligned, or is all that aligned, or is his speedometer, because like pacing is a thing. He's like, is this speedometer checked, and is it accurate? And like all paperwork came out, and I was like, damn, like like you guys really come in prepared for like all the obstacles
Yeah.
that somebody could come in here like.
yeah,
I'm sure you have to be. I'm sure
It's-
you've probably heard everything in the book, bro. You probably heard every other excuse.
dude, it's been. I mean, there's been my wife's giving birth. There's been I have to pee. There's been I have to poop. There's been. I mean, there's everything you can think of, and I'm
Yeah.
just. It's kind of funny just to kind of keep tallies of them. But yeah, I mean, stopping a car, there's a lot that goes into it. A lot of people don't realize is, before I ever even pull out of that median to come get you, there's a lot of things that I've already determined, I've already witnessed, I've already documented, I've already done before I
Right.
even, get behind you and turn my lights on. So typically there's 3 ways to measure speed. There's pacing, like you said. So I get behind you and I go the same speed. I get an average distance of, whatever, 2, 3, 4 car lengths, whatever it might be. And then I typically go for about a half mile. So if you go for a half mile and I paced you at a consistent speed between, on Route 7, if you're like 75 to 80 and you haven't left that range in that half mile, then I know I can stop you and charge you with whatever I, felt like the speed was at the time. That's kind of sometimes the easiest one to beat because, in a defense attorney can say, how do you know that the depth perception was right and you were
Yeah.
that close or that far from the car the entire time?
There's a lot more variables.
Right. So then there's also radar. So radar is, I can sit here and fill up 2 podcasts with explaining radar, but it's that thing that you see in the car
Yeah.
that's just mounted right there that just spits out a speed. So
Right.
problem with that one is it's not vehicle specific. So it's not like I can sit there and put my radar out and I know that car right there is going that speed. If you're in a group of 10 cars, it's just the fastest car in that group is what's going to register. So that one can be beatable also, but the most accurate one is what they call LiDAR.
Yeah, LiDAR.
And my
beat that
my
one.
radar instructor will kill me if he's gonna kill me because I don't remember what it stands for, but it's something about laser or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
is that you see the cop out there with that gun looking thing and he's pointing it at you? It's because you look through a little glass lens and it's got a little dot on it, and you put it on the car, you pull the trigger, it tells you exactly how far that specific vehicle or how fast that specific
Yeah.
vehicle is going.
This is
That's
what
the one
LiDAR
that
stands for right here, guys, in the video. We'll
Yeah.
put it right here. But that's the one, yeah. Because I remember I've been pulled over. Dude, when I was younger, and my like score was -11 because I just got a hell lot of
Jeez.
records.
Ooh. Damn,
My brother's
man.
was like -26 or some crazy shit.
How'd
like
they not take his license away?
I don't know, man.
They did.
I don't know. No, they didn't. The DMV was like, dude, we're about to take your shit, bro. But
Yeah.
they never actually did. But I got the letter, and that's when I was like, I could chill out. But yeah,
Doesn't one of your boys have a driving school?
yeah.
Yeah.
But this was years ago, man. But yeah, shout out to Driving with Matthew.
Yeah, I've actually seen some of his people. They've told me that they went with him.
Yeah.
I pulled them over, and so they get good, helps their transcript out pretty good.
But I've gotten the whole like someone would always be like, was it LiDAR? Because I got put over the last time I got put over was in the S4. I was going like 74 and a 55, and he caught me pacing.
That ain't hateful.
But the guy was like, was it LiDAR? And I was like, nah. He's like, oh, if it was LiDAR, you would have been fucked.
Yeah.
And so I went to court. It was in Berryville, and they were really cool. They put me on like a driving probation. The judge was like, if you don't get a ticket in the next 6 months, I'll just drop it. I was like, all right, that's cool. But yeah, that LiDAR one is like, there's no getting out of that one, right? That one's like the most accurate.
So that one, like again, like there's a lot of things that happen before I even stop you. So like a LiDAR, you have to test it before and after every shift, right? So my 12-hour shift. So like when I come on in the morning, if I grab a LiDAR, because I don't really ever do that anymore, but if I grab one, I actually have to go out there because what speed is measured, speed is the change of distance over time, right? So how much distance you've covered and how amount of time. So that LiDAR gun is literally just constantly measuring your distance from where the LiDAR gun is. So you have to test it by basically, there's set distances, I believe it's like 50 and 75 feet. And you have to put it on this little mount, you got to pull the trigger, it tells you it's 75 feet away, it tells you it's 50 feet away. you know that's not calibrated, but it's tested.
Yeah.
Right.
So you know that it's accurate. You know,
Yeah.
if you're sitting there pointing at the 50-foot one, and then next thing you know, it spits out like 74, 78 feet or something like that, or like 2 feet, you know it's not a good LiDAR, and it's not
Yeah.
going to accurately tell you what the
Yeah.
speed is.
Yeah,
So-
'cause I think that's one of the most common thing that I saw was with all the speeding tickets was like, yo, was his stuff accurate? And they pulled out the little sheet. They're like, look, this is test date, this is accuracy, da 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 da. Do you have any other form, you know, any other like plea basically? And they're like, nah, that's it. Fuck it, give me a ticket. You know,
Yeah.
Like, you can't beat technology.
Yeah, the best one is when people like argue with me on the LiDAR and they're like, I wasn't going that fast. And I'm like, no, seriously, you were. And I was like,
Yeah.
and they're like, no, I wasn't. I was like, you want to see how I got you? I did this to a lady once and it blew her mind. I was like, get out of your car real quick. Like, it's safe, get out of your car. So I had to get out of the car, gave her my LiDAR. I said, look down that little lens, you're going to see a dot. Put it on any car, the front of any car, and pull that trigger. And she did. And she was like, oh my God, that's how fast that guy's going? And I was like, yeah. And then it backfired on me. She's like, well, she was going faster than I was. So what the hell? Why didn't you go to get him? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, man. That's why I pull out the old joke. I'm like, hey, man, you ever been fishing before? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, when you went fishing, did you catch every fish in the pond? Well, no.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, no. So you're the fish I caught.
Yeah, I've also heard that too, man.
Yeah.
I got put over because I was in a bunch with a bunch of cars, and I was like, dude, there was cars passing me. He's like, yeah, but you're the one that got caught, man. And I was
Yeah,
like, damn.
I've heard that argument
Definitely
many
right.
times.
Yeah. So actually, I'd love to ask you guys, right?
Let's hear it, man.
Getting
Let's
down
hear
to the nitty gritty of it, right? So, you know, from an outsider's perspective, because I worked through obviously a very sensitive topic, which was George Floyd, right?
Yeah.
The murder of George Floyd by Derek Chauvin, you know, Minneapolis Police Department. From an outsider's perspective, looking in, what was your view of law enforcement, and like how did it develop over that from when you first heard about it to when, you know, whatever you've come to now?
How far back do you want us to? How far back do you want me to go with like law enforcement? Like you saying like
However
in
far back
life?
you want.
dude.
He
So
has extensive.
So let me tell you, man. So Jose and I grew up, and you're aware of this. We grew up in the court system, man. So in high school, when I was 15, I got arrested for the first time for assault with what was it,
Deadly weapon.
Class B weapon or some shit. It was a baseball bat.
Was it in Virginia?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's why I got. So I got kicked out of Heritage.
True. I was like, where'd Danny go, man?
Yeah, disappeared. after
Chica's
that for a
brother's
while.
gone.
Yes, sir. But dude, honestly, I've never had any, even through all that, I've never had any sort of issue with law enforcement. It's actually been the opposite. My mom, because I grew up without a father, my mom would just be like, don't make me call the police. That's your dad right there. You know, because I had, we had a probation officer since from 15 to 18. I had a probation officer. From 16 to 17, I had a probation officer, and I was on house arrest.
Yeah.
So I had the house arrest guy. Shout out to Mr. Julius. And then, you know, in school, all the school resource officers were always checking up on me. They were always making sure that I was accounted for, basically.
Yeah.
So, like Bolden and Scoonsy, like I said earlier, these guys were always making sure I was accounted for. And, you know, honestly, when we're kids, we're like, man, fuck the police. Man, I actually got in trouble because I always wrote stupid as shit. My PO one time printed out my Facebook shit, and it was like, fuck the pigs and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
It's stupid. I'm sorry I'm putting on myself out there, but... And they were like, dude, you're on probation. You know, this is grounds for you to get in trouble.
Yeah, you get
like,
violated.
Yeah. And I was like, oh shit.
Damn.
But as I got older, I realized, dude, all that is just ignorance on my behalf. And as I got older, you know, Julius would teach me. I'd come in there like, you know, I thought I was all thugging on Saturdays on house arrest, and he's like, how's everything? It's all right. He's like, look me in the eyes when you speak to me. I'm like, shit. It was all right.
He is your daddy.
Yeah, it was all right. It was all right, sir. It was all right, sir. He talked to my mom, like, yeah, mom. He's like, no, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So now I'm like, yes, ma'am, no, sir, you know, P's and Q's. But I think it really helped mold me to understand that, dude, they're not there to whoop my ass. I mean, even my PO, he'd come check up on me. I was 5 minutes late for curfew. He's like, look, man, you understand this is set for a reason. You can't think that we're out here just playing with you, man. Like, you need to understand that this is for your betterment. And honestly, it has made me a better person. I think that whole thing made me realize that they were trying to help me stay away from a life that I was trying to get into.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
to me, I'll always respect officers, man, especially in situations like this, in the time, like, hopefully not now, but in the time, like you said, the whole George Floyd thing, I was like, fuck the police, we don't need the police. And I'm like,
Defund.
dude, who do you call when you're in trouble?
Right.
You know, who do you call when
yeah.
you're in trouble? Your boys aren't going to come and just, you know, beat someone's ass, or if you and your girl are in an altercation, you're not going to fucking beat her down. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, you need someone to mediate. And if there's no one to mediate, we're just animals,
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's the purge.
Yeah.
you know?
That's
Yeah.
what separates us from animals is law, right? So it's
Right.
like I got a tremendous respect, man. I get pulled over, I'm like, hey, officer, and I got my CHP, so I always it's not required, you know, whatever, but I always hand everything over, say, hey, I just want you to be aware of the situation, da 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 da, and you know, whatever you need from me, I understand there's a reason you pull me over, like I'm not bullshitting, or unless it's a stupid reason, but I have yet to be pulled over for something that I'm not guilty of, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, man, I'm not going to risk my lifestyle over
Yeah.
a lawsuit for wrongfully
Yeah.
pulling you over, detaining you. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
promise you, like, if I'm doing something, it's purposeful,
yeah.
and it's
And I
'cause
say,
have
hey, I
backing.
understand. I'll sign the little summons, whatever I got to do, man. Just, I'm trying to make it go smooth too, because I also see a lot of the things that, like I said, I got a CHP, right? I see a lot of like the stupid fucking people flexing on the social media, like, oh, I'm open carrying an AR and this, and that. It's like, all right,
That's
bro,
the
but like,
dumbest. Dude, cops
Yeah.
hate that.
it's like,
Yeah.
but what are you proving, bro?
Right.
Like, dude, all you do is make us gun owners look dumb.
Right.
Like, you make us look stupid as shit.
Like
there's,
we're all about the Second Amendment, man. Like
Yeah.
that's I tell people all the time is when they've got somebody they're like, I'm afraid of this person. Like, what do? I tell them like, man, listen, exercise your Second Amendment right.
Yeah.
Go get a firearm, learn how to use it. Don't just go buy one just to
Yeah.
buy one. Learn how to
Understand
get
them.
lessons. There's plenty of ranges
Yeah.
out here you can get instructions from. But I mean, yeah, that whole CHP thing was just concealed handgun permit, by the way.
Yeah. It's not CCW anymore. People still call it concealed or what
carry
is it?
weapon.
Concealed carry weapon. Yeah.
Well, the
it's
weapon
just-
itself is probably just the CCW, but the permit
Yeah.
is the CHP.
It's CHP because it's specific to handguns.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got put over in West Virginia and I handed a guy. He was like, "Welcome to West Virginia, man. We all got guns here."
Yeah.
Gave me it back, and I was like, "Okay, that's pretty cool." But yeah, just like to understand, like, dude, one, like I said, law enforcement they're humans too, right? You gotta you get off work, you got family to go to, you got kids, you got family, you got loved ones, and two, you're there to not shit on my life.
Right.
If the judicial system wanted to shit on my life and like law enforcement wanted to, dude, my PO could have fucked me in so many ways.
Right.
Not physically, but you know, like I was very resistive of like the things that they were trying to better me at, you know. But you learn, I mean, especially young people, if you guys listen to this and you're like, on probation or whatever it may be, like the people, the officers, the POs, everyone, they're there to better your life, right? Or help guide you in a way that you may not even know you need until you're older.
Yeah.
Because realistically, like we were talking about earlier, we see people once you find yourself, they're in different parts in life, right? My life, if I did not have that kind of structure, that it was like a necessary evil, I'd probably be I'd be in a slum somewhere.
Yeah.
You know? I'd
Well, the
probably
weird
be
thing
in jail.
is as you kind of grow, and I wasn't prepared for this when I started law enforcement because
Yeah.
like when you're day one in there, like everything's new to you. The cars are new, the people that you deal with are new.
Mm-hmm.
But as you kind of get into what no one ever really talks about is as you get into the job and you start policing the same community over and over again, you know, you meet these people as kids, and then every year you still see them and you see them grow. You see them grow up and you see them take that path in life, whatever it may be. And some of it's really sad. You know, I had one kid, and I won't name him because I think he's still a juvenile. But I actually ended up, before I became a cop, I was a little league football coach just because I just enjoyed coaching football. And I had a kid that was on my team. And, you know, I knew he had a kind of a rough life at home, but I didn't really know how rough it was until I became a cop. And I went to his house it was like a check to welfare because he hadn't been in school in like 4 days. And they knew he had a rough life at home. So I went there and I saw what he was living in, and I just saw everything. And it was like, just open your eyes, because like I looked at this kid as like just, you know, he's my running back on my B League youth football team, and now I see him, you know, he's 4 to a bedroom, you know, in a bedroom size no bigger than most people's closets, and you know he's jammed in there, and then you try to get him out, you try to help him, and next thing you know you run into him because he's stealing stuff from Walmart, and everybody's like, oh, that's stupid, he's just stealing a pack of candy. But then a year later I see him, you know, stealing drugs off a drug dealer, and then the year after that I see him in an armed robbery. And
Damn.
so it's like it's that progression, right?
That's
So
crazy,
it's like
man.
if you nip it in the
Exactly.
bud in the beginning, you know, you enforce that small stuff,
Yeah.
you may prevent that from going
Escalating. Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so
And,
that's- yeah, I could see your point, Dan's. I mean, if you definitely nip something like that on the bud, it could definitely prevent probably felons from being created. You know what
Yeah.
I mean, or even something worse. Do you feel like you have like a heightened sense of awareness around you after being a police officer?
oh man, I tell you what, I watch TikTok a lot, by the way. So any Loudoun County taxpayers, you know,
Shout out to China.
paying me to watch TikTok a little bit. No, I don't do that. No, sorry. No, but I was watching this TikTok the other night, and it was this cop she said these are the different ways that being a cop has altered my brain chemistry.
Yeah, I completely.
And
can
I
see
was
that.
like, I didn't never thought about that. That actually, like, the chemistry of my brain is altered from what I see. I mean,
Yeah.
I've pulled dead people out of cars. I have sat there. I've never shot anybody. Thank God. That's never anybody's goal in law enforcement. I can tell you, I've never met a cop that's like, I want to go shoot somebody.
Even as gun owners, that's never the
No.
goal.
No,
You know.
that gun is
Yeah.
strictly there to make sure so I get home to my family.
Yeah.
Right. But you know, it was the chemistry of your brain being altered is so different in everything you see. You there's things like my wife hates it. Like because I've known my wife since high school. We were high school sweethearts. So she's seen me from the most innocent of my life until now.
Yeah.
And she always tell me, she's like, you've changed. Your tolerance is significantly lower. What you're willing to, the way you talk, your voice, your complexion, everything about you is just different.
Yeah.
And I don't realize it because it's normal to me. And it's,
Yeah.
My dad told me when I became a cop, he wasn't a cop, but he was in the military. He said, like, listen, Billy, like, do not change who you are as a person because you're about to see the underbelly of society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to see what the worst society has to offer you.
Yeah.
And, I self-admit, I go to therapy. I think it's
Yeah.
great. I think it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
People, cops going to therapy.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm not even sure if we were rolling when this happened, but like police officers, suicide rates are high. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, I can definitely see how therapy
Should
be
I
required.
feel like it's a big weight for you to carry,
Yeah.
and then to carry it. The hardest part, I think, of being in law enforcement or even being a therapist. I was talking to someone who was a therapist, and they quit because to be able to like shut it off, to not carry it home because, like you said, your wife could feel it, or if you have kids and you had like a really shit day,
Right.
you have to be able to kind of turn that off, or not even turn it off, just understand like that was here, now I'm here,
Right.
So I think, therapy definitely help, especially
Yeah.
if you got someone to like voice your thoughts to.
So my therapist gave me because I asked her one day, I was like, why do I not go home and like tell my wife what happened? I was like, why is it so hard for me to go home and tell my wife, hey, I watched this sport. I didn't watch it, but I walked in on this kid who blew his head off with a 30-06.
Damn,
his
I
face
remember,
his
man.
face looked like a zipper. It was wild.
Yeah.
How do I keep that from her, and how do I not tell her that? And she said that, she asked me, she's like, do you know the ancient Indian tribes, right? She said something that they used to do when they used to go to war is when they came home from war, the entire village would greet them, and they would have a big party that night where it's where the term war stories came from. They would all sit around, the big fire, whatever they're cooking, and they would literally share the burden of that war, what they saw about how they killed people, who they killed, who they lost, whatever, and they'd share it with the entire village, because then the entire village would know what sacrifices they were making.
Yeah,
And so it's like,
they help them carry that weight.
Yeah, so the moral of that from her was like, you need to tell your wife some of this stuff. Don't tell her like, hey, I watched this kid's head split open into two, but
Yeah.
Hey, I went to the suicide of this 14-year-old. It was really sad. This is how it affected me, whatever it might be, and
Yeah.
keep it kind of PG for her, but
Yeah,
but also have that avenue of therapy, which is what I have, which is it's huge,
Yeah,
and
and
massive.
I've always been a big proponent. I feel like, especially for men, I feel like, us talking about, what we're feeling or going through, I feel like can a lot of times be taboo. I'm sure having, other police officers is a good camaraderie, good space for you guys to talk about shit like that.
Yeah, but I tell you what, the worst friend for a cop is another cop.
Oh, word.
Oh,
Okay.
dude, I like off duty. I don't really hang out with any of my cop
Oh,
friends
shit.
because think about it, right? So you see this every single day. You go to these calls, you experience it. The last thing you want to do is get off and start
And
talking
talk
about it again.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
all cops do is they talk about cop shit with each other.
Damn, I thought super bad. I thought they're all cops were like,
Nah,
best friends.
nah.
I mean some do because it's a common bond. It's something you can bond over. But
Yeah.
but it's great having friends that like I got a really good friend of mine who works for like JK Moving. And like I play golf with him, and he has zero anything. He asked me the same question, like, "Is there a quota, Billy? I know there's a quota, man. Tell me." I'm like,
tell me,
nah, it's all good."
what's the secret to beating LiDAR?
Right? Yeah. But he's it's great having him because I can just like I don't have to think about being a cop.
Yeah,
I go
like
back
I said,
to the
shut it
days.
off, man. Once you're done with your shift, the ability to shut it off and leave it off is just
Well, I mean, I feel like shutting it off is cool, and I feel like that. I don't think that's like sustainable long term. Because
No.
if you don't have somebody like a therapist or even like
yeah.
a wife or coworkers or a friend, that you can, or even if it's working out or just some way to release what you have inside, man, I feel like eventually it comes out in really nasty ways. you
Yeah,
know?
it does, and for cops or just for people in general, like they get that vice. A lot of times it's alcohol. A lot of times,
Yeah.
sometimes they fall into drugs, and it's just because it's something that's easy. It's easy to obtain. Their whole life has been hard for them, so they're like,
Yeah.
well, how can I get easy, stimulation in some way? And so they go
like
for
alter
that.
your mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
good.
that's the
Yeah.
most dangerous thing of alcohol and drugs is to turn it into your escape.
Yeah.
You can do anything, man. You can go fishing. I love fishing.
Right.
That's my escape, man.
But I'll tell you what, to lighten things up a little bit, I'll tell you some of the funnest calls that I've been on. I mean, there's times that being a cop sucks and you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. There's some times that it's just like, I can't contain myself. And the development of body cams has been one of the greatest things ever because I can watch this stuff again.
There you go.
So when people ask me all the time, like, hey, what's like the weirdest call you go on? I'm like, all right, well, sometimes I can sit there and I can tell them that horrible stuff. But I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story. It's hilarious. So Costco in Leesburg. I was working for Leesburg PD. I was on night shift. It was like, I don't know, like 10, 11 at night, so it was like pitch black. And it was probably pretty cold. I think it was like April, like beginning of April. So like it wasn't like freezing cold, but it was pretty cold. Like we get a call about a guy that's, you know where Costco is in Leesburg?
Yeah.
There's like those woods behind it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right by Target. There's like woods behind it. So this woman calls in saying that there's a naked man running in and out of the woods.
Oh shit.
And I'm like, nah, this lady's insane. She didn't actually see that. She's what we call EDP, emotionally disturbed person. She's EDP. There's no way she saw that. I'm like, all right, so I'll go this way. So I start driving up Edwards Ferry. You know, we're going, and like, it was one of those moments out of a movie where I have to be like, oh my god, did I just see that? Because I see this man just streaking across the street, and I was like, what? And he goes into the woods, and I'm like, man, if this man's naked going into the woods right now, there's thorn bushes, like whatever. Yeah. So I pull into the parking lot, and I'm just like, okay, I don't even know what I'm gonna do when I find this guy. Like, what do I do? Like, am I just gonna
tackle this motherfucker?
Yeah, right. Grab him down low. You know, like really just get him. But so I'm sitting there, and I got my backup unit there, and I'm like, I think I saw him go into these woods. And she's like, all right, well, I'll go around and check. So I kind of moved my car away, and there's one car in the back of the parking lot, and I'm like, well, you know, put two and two together. There's one guy that's running towards this car. This is the only car in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. It's probably his car, so I'm gonna keep it in sight. So she goes around. Next thing you know, I see this dude running. It wasn't butt ass naked. It was worse.
Damn.
This man was a cross dresser.
Okay.
He was in a thong, fully tucked, and a bra.
Damn.
The most surprising part about it was that he filled the bra out.
There you go.
I was like, man.
Damn.
He's thick.
Yeah. So I was like, he comes walking out, and I'm like, hey, over here, come here. He's like, okay, wearing makeup and everything. And I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, just that. Sometimes like, containing every laughter I could. Like, I'm just keeping it all in. I'm just like, okay. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? And he's just like, I just, you know, my wife doesn't like it when I do this. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if my wife would like it if I did it either. Yeah. And he's like, so I just go and, you know, I just drive around in my car in women's clothes. And I'm like, clothes? Like, you have more? And he's like, yeah, my trunk. I was like, what? So I open up, man. I'll tell you what, it's Victoria's Secret in this man's trunk. Everything you think of.
It's a man of good taste, I guess, right?
Yeah, it was wild. So that's the lighter side of law enforcement. You can kind of sit there and you can think back to those and just kind of chuckle a little bit and really just draw from those. And
so did you get in trouble though? I'm curious. Like, is there like indecent exposure or
so
like untucking and go home kind of thing?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, right. I think they ended up arresting him for like drunk in public because he was intoxicated also. But I wasn't primary in that call, so that's why I was like, oh, I'm a little, y'all good? I'm gonna leave. Bye. I'm gonna get out of here. But no, I mean,
Officer Billy, here's my number.
Hey, I got some good panties for you, bro. It was now indecent exposure is actually not a thing in Loudoun County. Did you know that?
Oh shit, I did not know
you
that.
You can walk down the street butt naked. So it becomes indecent exposure when you try and draw attention to yourself. So if you're like, everybody look at my naked, you know, look at my ass, look at my dick, you know, whatever, then it's indecent exposure. Or like, you know, the weirdest thing was I called it the rolling masturbation case. We had this guy that was going, we got called, Fairfax County got a call about him, Loudoun got a call about him, I was with Leesburg, and then we got a call about him. He was going 7 westbound from Fairfax. And just masturbating the whole time.
Oh shit!
And people were pulling up next to him, and he was in like a low car too, so it's not like he's like in a, you know, if you're in a lifted truck, like I mean, you might be able to get away with it, you know, because ain't nobody gonna see that except for like the semi truck drivers, and they might like it. But yeah, so he's in this like low BMW, and like we get like somebody call, and like they call our dispatch and like, yeah, Fairfax County's gotten calls about him, Loudoun's gotten calls about him. This is his address. It returns in Leesburg. You know, go check. So I roll up there and I see the car sitting in the driveway, and I'm like, man, this guy's here, like. I
gotta approach this right now.
Yeah, and my partner's like, well, we gotta go talk to him, and I'm like, oh god, I don't want to. So I go up and he's not in the car. So I'm like, okay, I'll go. He's in a townhouse in the driveway. So I go up to the door, knock on it. This man opens the door, like just looks like it came out of a Forbes magazine, just perfect suit, everything. And I'm like, hey man, is that your car down there? Yeah, that's my car. Were you just driving it? Yeah. I was like, how long ago did you get here? About 5 minutes ago. And I'm like looking at his pants and like okay, is is this him or like what? And he's like, I was like, anybody else in the car with you? Nope, just me. Where are you coming from? Oh, from Tyson's. And I'm like, damn, this is the guy.
This is the guy.
And he's like, oh, by the way, I'm, you know, and I'm like, I'm like, hey man, we're good. It's not, you know, I'm like, you know, COVID hadn't happened yet, so I couldn't use the excuse of COVID. Like, hey, COVID, man. Like, and I was just, it was.
Your partner's probably like.
Yeah, that was one of those like shit moments.
At least you didn't catch him like red-handed.
Tyson's to Leesburg though, that's stamina, man.
I mean, I don't know if he just like would stop if he was like choking himself or something or what he was doing.
What is that edging? He was probably edging himself in the car, man. Damn, that's crazy though.
Yeah, we get that a lot. Unfortunately, that is a weird it's a weird dynamic. There's a lot of people just like to. I think it's like the adrenaline. It's like the surprise of like maybe being caught. That's what finally helps them get there, I guess.
Yeah.
Damn.
You probably it's a long drive. He's probably driving around like, can I get there already?
Yes.
Someone look at me and scream.
My whole bottle of Jergens is gone.
Purple suit though. You're like, where's the stains at, man?
I know. Yeah, I'm looking at his like belt line. Like, man, like I'm not trying to check your dick out right now, but like I'm trying to see like, did you like
Are
finish?
you guilty? Yeah.
Yeah. What happened? Like trying to catch you white-handed. You know what I mean?
Probably had incredibly soft hands from all that Jergens, man.
Oh, yeah, that was one of those gross moments.
Damn.
So we talked a little bit about this before we turned the podcast on, but is law enforcement not something you plan to do for forever, or?
No. So, coming into law enforcement, I definitely did not. I knew that it wasn't going to be my whole career. I mean, it could be. It's a great thing to finish out on, but it's a long 25 years, man. It's a long time to do it. So, the wife and I actually just started our first Airbnb.
Okay.
So we just listed our first Airbnb. It's in a place called Bryce Resort. It's in Basie, Virginia, which is in Shenandoah County. So take 81 south, basically to Woodstock.
Oh, okay.
You get off on Woodstock, take 42 south, and it's a small little ski town. It's nothing to it. It's very remote. So I mean, you're out there. Somehow in actually that house, there's great service, but we got great Wi-Fi too. So
That's a great selling point for you guys, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing Wi-Fi. But
yes,
yes, we started venturing into that. I mean, ever since my wife and I got married back in 2019. I mean, like I said, we're high school sweethearts, but in 2019 we got married and we both decided we want to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And with the development of just the way the economy's gone and everything, like real estate just seemed like the safest bet.
Yeah.
And the new hip thing is to do an Airbnb if you can do it. And so we just kind of aligned everything, did our research, and just jumped right into it.
Yeah, as you should. So I've heard that there could be like a lot of like complications because you obviously, how far is like the drive for you? Because you have to check in, I'm sure, after.
Yeah, it's about an hour and 20 minutes from my house if I don't obey the speed.
If you have lights on.
Yeah.
And then so I've also, have you ever heard of like house hacking or anything like that?
Yeah. House hacking's a huge thing, man. I mean, it's like one of the most popular things that you can do with like.
I'm not familiar with that. You guys have to fill me in on house hacking.
So basically, like if you had a 2-bedroom apartment, you would have the lease, and if or if you owned it as a condo, and then you basically rent your second room out, and then somebody else pays half your mortgage.
Yeah.
Whereas if you live there, you could live there by yourself and pay the entire mortgage or lease.
Oh, so people do that with their basements all the time.
Oh yeah, they rent out their whole basements.
When I was looking for places, I spoke to a lot of people that were, because I posted online. I was like, yo, I'm looking for a place to move, because I lived in West Virginia. I was like, I'm trying to move back to Virginia. Like, does anyone know? Everyone's like, yo, I got a brand new build. Like, come rent the basement out. And I'm like, why are you renting out your basement on a brand new build?
Yeah.
Like, oh, help me out with the mortgage. And I'm like, well, shit,
Yeah,
that's
you
probably
just-
half your mortgage right there.
Yeah, you just get the average like square foot rental rate. So
Yeah.
like it's like $10 a month a square foot, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then you just you're like, I'm renting out a 500 square foot room, and you're like, okay, that's however much a month, whatever,
Yeah.
and then you can go for that. But yeah, it's just a way to kind of really that's the easiest method I would say to really kind of get into real estate and start building up some equity in your house.
Yeah.
Because you still pay the full mortgage.
Trying to rent out my garage.
Yeah, true, right?
I mean, the cool thing about house hacking is because, okay, say that instead of like an apartment, you got a mortgage on a house, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they're paying down your mortgage. At the same time, you're earning more equity inside of your own home because it's paying down, right?
Yeah.
And then even if you were to move out and somebody else started paying your whole mortgage, you could potentially be paying down your mortgage without you having to invest into the property
Right, yeah.
itself. And then honestly, like I started looking into Airbnb where I'm at. My parents live like right off a river in Charlestown, and I was looking at like neighboring houses, just to see how much they're charging for Airbnb. And some of them were charging between $400 to like $800 in the summer, bro.
Yeah.
For like nights.
Water's the biggest thing. If you can find a good cheap house or like a good reasonable house near water, oh my God, summertime you're gonna kill it.
Especially if it's like a private lot. Like my neighbors
Yeah.
all have private access to the lot to the river except for us. So we're trying to figure out if we can buy some off the neighbors. Even if it's
Yeah.
a small plot.
Small, like,
But I
quarter
mean, think
acre.
about it, dude. With 2 nights of renting, maybe 3 after all expenses and stuff, we could pay our whole mortgage and everything after that is profit.
Yeah, I mean, I can show you guys right now. I mean, we have
It's got the numbers.
yeah, so we have
Statistics.
somebody there staying there right now. He checks out on Thursday morning actually, and so he's got a 3-night stay. And let's see, so for 3 nights he is paying Airbnb $828, and we make $656 for
that's
3
nice.
nights.
Awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and our mortgage on the house is only like, I think it's like 1,200 or 1,400
Half your mortgage in a week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
in
go.
3 nights, right?
3
there.
nights, yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's like 30, average, 30 days in a month, bro. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you said you've been doing this for how long?
So we actually just listed the property about probably 2 weeks ago, and we got
Okay,
six
that-
books.
So
yeah,
here's
that's
here's the
awesome.
thing. I hear that it's kind of like a compounding effect, right? Like the more time you're in the market in Airbnb, like the more probability you have of like booking more as you grow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there's like a whole lot of other stuff in like learning curve, because right now you're probably doing all the cleaning, and like
No,
all-
so a great thing, amazing. Facebook is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. It's such a huge research tool. It's such a community-driven like social media platform, regardless of the political side of it, whatever. But like, I got into it's like an Airbnb host tips and tricks, whatever. It's like 80,000 members, and like
Okay.
everybody posting there daily about just like common problems they have, or like, hey, what do you guys like for, like, I noticed your lock right there. So like that's the Yale lock. That's
Yeah.
a huge thing in Airbnb, because Yale
Does it
actually
require a key?
it doesn't require a key, but it incorporates directly with Airbnb. So
Yep.
like if we didn't do a Yale lock, but if we did, is second you book, it automatically generates a code for the door for check-in. So it's a it's
that's
self
awesome.
it's just
check-in.
Yeah.
another automated thing
Right.
that you don't have to think about. Okay.
Right. So yeah, you automate the process. Of what I learned is find people. So like, we live an hour and a half away. Could I go down there between each booking and clean it out? Yeah, I could, but that's a 3-hour round trip plus
Yeah.
2 hours there cleaning. That's
Yep.
5 hours dedicated to every guest that comes in. So what we did is I got on the Bryce like community Facebook page and just said, hey, does anybody have a pretty good like cleaner in the area? Sent me a bunch of references, got prices, talked to each of them. And so now she's down there. So I send her the calendar every month and I say, hey, this is what our bookings look like. She puts it on her calendar. So then she just comes in there and cleans it. We don't have to call her.
Billy's getting his time back. The cleaner's getting jobs. You know what I'm saying? And the people that do the Airbnb are satisfied. It's
It's
like
called a great return on investment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a handyman that comes in there, like that like ice storm we had. I guess it hit that area pretty bad, and it's very like shaded, so like the ice didn't melt with the sun. And so like the guest checked in and was like, hey, there's a lot of ice on the walkway. Like, can you guys take care of that? And I was like, no problem. So I called my handyman.
Boom.
He was there in 15 minutes laying ice down. Charged me
care of
like $25 for it, and it's like, hey, that's worth it,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they get they know that I'm a host that pays attention. I don't wait for stuff to come to me. I take care of it right when it happens.
5-star rating right there, man.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
yeah.
great rapport. Yeah.
Big thing is like if you're staying in Airbnb, I'll tell you too. Like the biggest thing that you can do to help out your host, 5-star reviews.
get
Yeah.
those ratings up.
Get the reviews. Like, and if people don't understand the rating system either, I've learned in these groups is that they think like 5-star means everything was above and beyond exceptional. Everything was like you went above and beyond. No. 5-star rating typically is like it met your expectations. There were no problems. What you thought you were going to get is what you got. You're happy, you're satisfied, give them 5 stars.
Right.
Yeah.
4 stars is like, it's what you expected, but like maybe like, the garage that you thought you'd be able to use, was covered with crap, or there's,
Yeah.
trash in it and you couldn't
Yeah.
use it, or like, the dishes weren't washed by your cleaner, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Maybe give them a 4-star review, but like, if you can, 5-star reviews. 'Cause that
I'm
helps
big
out.
on doing. Most of the jobs I've had are all like, there a lot of incentives are reviews. So it's like if you're gonna give me a 5-star, great. Like even now, like my business, like if you could leave me a 5-star, great. But if you feel like it wasn't to that expectation, either tell me how I could do better or reach out to me privately, and then let's just avoid giving me like a 3-star or a 4-star. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
then you just throw the whole thing off. Like, because I've had people like, oh, it was amazing work, but I don't believe. That's one guy was like, amazing work, but I don't believe in perfection, so I don't believe in 5 stars.
What?
So he left
What?
4 stars,
What?
and I'm like,
Wow.
you could have just not left a review, or like,
Yeah.
just, I mean, damn, bro, like you don't have
Yeah,
to put all that
that's
on there,
backwards,
But yeah, so if you want to support, Airbnbs or any sorts of businesses like that, dude, 5 stars or 10 stars or perfect ratings, and then you want to put in the comments whatever it may be, do it. But I mean, the stars they go a long way. All
It's
it
like really,
takes
what does it do to you? Like if you
Yeah.
like what do you, even if you don't believe it was 5 stars, or
Yeah.
like unless you had like a complete terrible experience where
Yeah.
where like you showed up and you thought you were getting a house and your Airbnb was a tent. Like unless it's like
there's
that,
a guy in the basement,
right? Yeah. There's some dude just living in there, using too much Jergens, driving from Tyson. You know what I mean? So like unless it's something like that, like what's it gonna do that hurts you if you just leave him 5 stars?
5
You're gonna
stars,
help
yeah.
him out. Like, are you really trying to be like that?
Yeah.
I'm trying to protect other people. Like,
Yeah.
get over yourself,
Yeah.
bro.
The dishes were black, man. They should have been white to match with the countertops. It's
White
like, whoa,
sheets,
bro.
man. That's a big thing too.
Okay.
White
They
sheets.
people want white sheets.
White sheets is
Oh,
a
I
big
guess they
thing
didn't know
because
the
because
cleanliness of
color,
it.
right? You go in there to see a dark sheet, you're not going to notice the stain that's there
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's covered. So people like white sheets.
Oh,
that's
that's
why all the
you can notice
hotels
something.
you go to most of the time have white,
White
sheets.
sheets. Yeah.
Right.
You-
So I mean, it's a big upfront investment, and my wife and I were very clever with how we did the the financing for it.
Yeah. So that's my next question. I mean, you didn't put out a whole mortgage on it, right? You didn't, or
No, so we that's another thing too. If you're looking into getting an Airbnb, you build a good team. You find a really good real estate agent in the area of that you're looking at. So like, if you live up here in Northern Virginia, don't find a real estate agent up here for a house down in like Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Because they don't really know the area. So
Right.
like, if you find your step one, find out where you want to do your Airbnb at. And how you can do that is this website called AirDNA. It's AIRDNA.co. I think it's like .co or something like that. It's a third party website that just basically like looked at all the areas, and it tells you like the occupancy rate, average daily, nightly rate. It tells you like, so you kind of know what you're getting into before you do. I mean, you're never going to fully know, but you have an idea and a picture
Right,
if it's a
right,
good
right.
area or not. So we looked at that, and then everything was great with it. So we went and we found a real estate agent that was like familiar with the area, and she actually had just bought her own Airbnb down there, so she knew what the area's like, what the good price was. And then you find a good finance, find a really good like a home loan mortgage, lender or something like that really kind of understands because a rental property is completely different than financing, your primary residence. There's a lot of different things with interest rates that go on. They tack on like an extra 1.5% or something like that. So our interest rate right now is absurd. But you get a good team, you get in there. So what we did is we took our primary residence, which luckily we had a lot of equity in our primary residence. When the rates went down in 2021, they were at historic lows.
Right.
We went and got our house refinanced. So we got down to a lower rate for our primary house, and then we also grew our equity with the market growth the way it was.
Right.
And so we had a huge chunk of equity that was just sitting there, and like a lot of people just let that sit and be like, "Oh, I have equity, cool, that sounds good." But
yeah, if
Put
it
it
doesn't
to
do
work,
anything
man.
for
Put
you,
it to
right,
work,
it's just,
yeah.
it's literally like just taking 500 grand, putting it in a bank account, and like just looking at it all day.
Yeah.
Like you're like, "Cool, this is great."
it's not really doing anything.
So what we did is we got what they call a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit. So it's basically the bank issues you a note saying that they will lend against the equity in your house. So it's risky because if this all fails, you now have a debt you have to pay back against your primary residence.
Yeah.
So I can tell you about how the process, how we're going to get rid of that. So we got the HELOC, and then we took that HELOC, and then we turned that HELOC into the down payment for the new house.
Okay.
So we let the equity on our primary residence pay for the down payment of our Airbnb. And then once we did that, we were able to get cleared. We had enough funds. We were able to make the mortgage amount low enough to where we qualified for it.
Okay.
Even though the new debt from the HELOC was added, it still was able to qualify because our monthly minimum payment for the HELOC was only like $200 because all you're paying is interest for the first little bit. So we were able to do that, and now what our method is going to be is that when the market kind of goes, when the rates go back down, we've completely renovated the whole house. So we've upped the equity. I mean, our real estate said probably anywhere between 50 to 100 grand in the equity because we did all new like paint, we did new flooring, we did new bathroom, we did new everything you could think of. We added like a bunch of stuff to the deck. So you really just kind of put that upfront money into it and use the HELOC, right? So you use that equity in your house to renovate it,
right.
increase that equity value. And then when the rates go back down, we're going to refinance, get equity in that house, take a HELOC out on that house, use that HELOC to pay off our primary residence. So now it's a self-sustaining debt.
Yeah.
Right? All the debt's locked up in that house, and I don't have to risk my primary residence
so it's
anymore.
like all consolidating. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So what's the difference? I'm not known much about loans or anything. Is there a difference between a HELOC loan and like a cash out refinance? Is that like
Yeah, so the cash out refinance is a home equity loan. So you basically go in there and you refinance again. The value of your house goes up, which increases your equity, and then the bank says, okay, we're going to give you. Say you have a lot of times they don't like to lend more than 70% of the equity. So if you have $100,000 equity in your house, they won't really give you more than a $70,000 loan because they want to make sure that they get theirs when they need it.
Yeah.
But the problem with that we found is that the home equity line of credits or cash out refinance, when you pull that money out on the home loan or the equity loan, you start paying it back immediately. Which we didn't know how long this renovation was going to last. We didn't know how long any,
Too many
maybe
variables.
so we didn't want to have to start paying back, an extra $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
When we weren't having any kind of income stream.
Nothing coming back in. Yeah.
Yeah. So the benefit of the HELOC is you basically just all you have to do is once the moment you pull any money out on that HELOC, you just pay back the interest for the first 15 years.
Okay.
Right. So it's we can draw on that loan equity line of credit for 10 years, and then after 15 years, then it's a balloon payment of whatever the balance is. But for that 10 years that we're drawing, all you have to pay is the interest.
Okay.
So we don't have to pay on that $82,000 prime or principal that we put down.
Right.
You just let it sit there until we can refinance it into this, our new place, and then take that HELOC to pay off that.
Okay, I see.
That's
Damn,
dope,
so,
man.
So
Yeah.
you have an exit plan also, which is amazing.
Oh yeah,
Right?
so that way, if say the economy just completely tanks and no one goes traveling anymore, and then yeah, it would suck. It would definitely be a huge hit, but
Yeah.
we wouldn't lose our house. We
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
lose our primary residence over
Yeah.
it.
I think it takes a lot of structure and understanding what you're involving yourself into, because you're very. I mean, even talking about interest rates and HELOCs and stuff. You're in no way a banker or a finance guy, but you're speaking like you were. Like I'm like, damn, this motherfucker really could just
Yeah.
jump into
So-
finance, or you could if you really want to
so,
dive
this,
into it.
this is Billy's Airbnb hacks right
Yeah,
here.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. So I mean, the first thing I got out
Billy's
of that is,
hacks.
First thing I hear out of that is do your due diligence, do
Yes.
the research. You know what I mean? I'm sure every hour of planning in my industry, every hour of planning will save you 2 or 3 hours of work. You know what I mean? And then number 2 is talking to people that I'm sure are way beyond where you're at.
Join there's a Facebook group for everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Air DNA is good to look into.
Air DNA is great.
Yo, Facebook groups. I'm big on. I love networking on Facebook because, like, if you're in an area, you could be like Nova Foodies. If you're in Northern Virginia, you're trying to find food, or like I'm in a lot of these like social collectives or like networking or even neighborhoods. Like I did one lady's vehicle in Warrenton, and she posted she like sent me an invite to join the neighborhood or the community group. And so she's like, hey guys, this company Phoenix Service did my car. They did great. So for 2 months, I was in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Strictly that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
from that.
Yeah,
so
knocking down that barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you can find these places in on Facebook, even the little niches like you said, you found the town that you had your Airbnb in. You can find handyman, you can find a cleaning person. You can find all kinds of stuff out there that you don't even have to leave to go down there, even though it's only an hour 20.
Yeah.
Everyone is already there for you.
Yeah.
So it's
And
a beautiful
you gotta
thing.
look. You gotta look like outside the box too, a lot more, like to figure out where's a good area. So like
Right.
you think about like, who are the people when there's a downturn in the economy? Who are the people that are still going to go on vacation? Right. It's the people that live in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
We're very blessed where we live because there's a lot of government contractors
Yeah.
out here. A lot of government employees, government contractors. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2008 and 2009 when the economy just took a dump, I think Loudoun County's unemployment rate only rose up to like 4.5% max.
Yeah.
Okay.
When the rest of the nation was over 11%.
When
Yeah.
COVID hit, my brother has a remodeling company. When COVID hit, they were building pools. They were building in-ground pools and building extensions to the houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, COVID hit. And
Yeah.
they're like,
Right.
well, we're working from home
It's
now.
a bubble.
Right.
up
It's
here.
like, so I'm
Northern
trying to be more
Virginia's-
comfortable.
It's
Yeah.
a bubble,
You know?
So you gotta look at these people that are gonna still have like that income flow when the economy goes down, and then you gotta think, okay, where do these people vacation?
Yeah.
Where is a reasonable spot that they're not gonna have to get a plane ticket and go fly to, but they can still drive and still
Yeah.
get that getaway feeling.
Right,
So
right.
I mean, really from DC, it's actually quicker because you just have to take 66 to 81.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're only like an hour and a half from DC. So like people that live in DC, Maryland, the more uppity areas, they can
Yeah.
still get to Bryce, and it's a smaller area. So and then also look at where you're going and where you're looking at for Airbnb. How is that area developing? How are they welcoming Airbnb guests? And then also the big thing too is check their local laws. Local ordinances are starting to really crack down. Like Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville's like impossible to get an Airbnb now.
Oh, shit, I didn't know
Because
that.
Nashville
HOAs.
created zones. Like the whole city of Nashville said, okay, you can only have Airbnbs in this zone.
Okay.
And then so now any house that goes for sale in that zone is immediately like 40% higher than anything just literally a street over outside the zone. Because outside that zone, you can't Airbnb
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I wonder what do you think that is like to protect their own?
Yeah, because if you have an economy in an area is strictly based off vacationers, I mean, again, what happens?
yeah.
The economy
Yeah.
goes down. No one vacations anymore. Next thing you know,
true,
no one's
yeah.
going to Safeway to buy groceries. No one's going to the gas station to fill up their
okay.
cars. No
So
one's
it's
going to the
almost-
bars to drink.
It's almost like a way to protect the local economy.
Yeah. So, but Bryce since 2000, we got HOA documents when we got it, and they were from like 2008 or something like that. And they even back in 2008 recognized that only 20% of their total population are permanent residents.
Yeah.
So they,
okay.
we knew that there was a deep-rooted history that most people that come to this area are transient and they're not going to stay for
Yeah.
long. So like
Yeah.
we know that they're going to invite short-term rentals a lot longer than most areas would.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Damn, so
Yeah.
market research also. You got.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you gotta.
Yeah.
You're a man of many hats now.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild, but it's been a fun ride. I mean, it's just like you said, just do your market research.
Yeah.
Know what you're getting yourself into. Play out every scenario in your head. If I do this, what would this happen?
Yeah.
And also just poke around. Talk to the lenders before you actually sign any paperwork. Hey, man, if I do this, what would this rate look like? You're like, how would I be able to pull this? I need to pull this much money. What do I got to do? And sometimes, you might just have to accept the bad news of like, hey, we just can't do this right now.
Right.
At this very moment, we can't do it. And right now with the housing market, it's not the best time to buy a house. We were blessed in our situation being able to do it, but wait for the prices to fall. They're not going to drop. I'll tell you this right now. There's not going to be a bubble.
Yeah.
Because it's simple supply and demand. I mean, the supply of houses was 10 years behind the demand before COVID happened.
Yeah.
And then so when COVID happened, everyone wanted to move, wherever they went. So then it dropped to like 15 to 20% behind the demand.
Okay.
So like until that supply and demand levels out, which it won't anytime soon, it's
Yeah.
going to be, they're going to stay, and they're not going to stay high, but they're going to slowly drop.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like what people are expecting to just be like,
Yeah. All the millennials our age are sitting there just waiting for like
Yeah.
a housing market crash. And
it's like
just,
they treat it like crypto and shit. Buy the dip, wait for the dip and buy,
I
It's
lost so much money on AMC, man.
Did you? Damn, man.
Dude,
I was
'cause-
talking to a guy who lost 120 grand
I lost $2
crypto.
grand.
Oh
was
shit, yeah. But I mean, even that is like, fuck, man.
Yeah, I've lost some money on some crypto.
I lost money in
and
Charlestown at
stocks.
the casino.
Yeah, true. That's a bad way to finance your house too, by the way. Don't get that loan and then go bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, the best advice I got was from my lender, a real estate agent, when we were talking about, and I was like, I'm kind of scared to do this. Like, what if it doesn't work? Like, what should I wait? Maybe wait for this. And she said the best time to plant a tree is 15 years ago. The second best time is now.
Right now, yes, sir.
Right. So if you wait, 10 years to plant a tree, you're still going to have a seed in your hand. Right.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
just don't be stupid about it. But like,
That goes back to execution, man. It's all about
Yeah.
execution, right? Like even like starting a podcast, dude. You could do it in 10 years, but why not just start it now?
Yeah,
right?
your
'Cause
first
in
couple
10
months
years,
might
you're
be
gonna
shit.
see. Yeah, in 10 years, you'll see the growth that you wouldn't have seen had you not done it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I commend you on that because everyone talks about real estate. It's a crazy thing because land is the one thing you can never get more of.
Right.
And real estate is one
maybe
of
in
those
Hawaii,
things where-
right, with the volcanoes, maybe like.
Maybe like tectonic plates.
Yeah,
causing,
something happens. Next thing you know, they're like Airbnb Island or something like that, right in the middle of the
Yeah,
ocean.
but I mean, it's one of those things where, and people are more diving into I mean, look at how much knowledge you have on real estate, right? Just off of just getting your first Airbnb.
Yeah.
So
Going
it's
through
something that's worth looking into, even if you just want to get the knowledge, or you want to do Airbnb, or you want to start doing like flips. Because I know there's people that instead of doing Airbnbs, they'll buy a house, remodel it, and flip it and sell
Yeah,
it.
I mean, and that's like a market thing. Like
Yeah.
now's probably not the best time
No,
because
no,
houses
no.
are sitting on the market. I think
Yeah.
15% longer than they were this time a year
Yeah.
ago.
So you're basically buying a house for probably more than what you should, investing, and
Right.
then hoping to sell it for more than
Right.
what you'll probably get for it. As
Right.
opposed to like, I mean, a couple years ago, you could do that shit. I used to do granite countertops, so that's one of the biggest things. My clients were those realtors that went out and bought houses, knocking. So I'll buy your house, sight unseen, whatever this much. Send us in, do a whole remodel. They
Yeah.
make profit, but now it's probably not as it's.
Profitable.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, with the cost of materials, I mean,
Yeah,
we
inflation's
probably,
a real motherfucker,
we
man.
probably put in every bit of like 20, 30 grand into this house just to get
Yeah.
it ready to roll. But
Yeah.
I mean, we already made it in the first 6 bookings that we had. We made almost 3 times our mortgage.
Okay.
And that's only
yeah.
booked up until the end of January. So we
Yeah.
still have all the rest
And
of the
it-
ski
it-
months. And another thing too, again, we looked at the market research. It's Bryce Resort is a year-round resort. They got an 18-hole PGA Championship golf course
That's
there.
all I was going to ask you because in the ski months that's great, but then in the summer,
Yep.
golf.
They
Damn.
turned the mountain into a mountain biking mountain.
Oh shit.
So they have the ski lifts, and they have like this really cool thing you can ride your bike up onto it, and then you sit down in the chair, and like you and your bike go up together to the top of the mountain,
Yeah.
and then you just mountain bike
That's
down.
called adaptation, man.
Yeah.
That town has really adapted to being
and
a
they're
year
they're
round.
building like an
Yeah.
indoor water park and everything. It's gonna be like the next Mass. And I mean, Massanutton's like 30 minutes away, but it's
Okay.
gonna be the next one.
Sounds
Reminds
like
me
you
of
might move
Yellowstone,
out
man.
there, man. That's what
Oh
it's like.
man, I tell you what, it's a little too remote for me. I mean, the closest
Yeah.
Walmart's 30 minutes away. And,
Yeah.
you always got to judge where you're living by where the Walmart is.
the
Yeah.
Walmarts, yeah,
Right.
the Target.
I got
yeah.
two. I'm blessed to be right in between two of them.
Bro, you
It's
are.
10 minutes that way in Leesburg, 10 minutes that way in Sterling. So I'm
Yeah.
like- and I got targets like was that 1, 2? I got 3 targets within 10 minutes of each other.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you went out west.
My biggest question is, like, I'm sure you and your wife had this conversation of starting an Airbnb for a reason. Like, what would is the end goal, or what would in an ideal situation? What
Yes,
would
I know this sound. So I'll tell you, like, the best quote I ever heard. I don't know if Bryce Harper, you know Bryce Harper,
Yeah.
baseball player. I don't know if he came up with this quote or if he just saw it on Google one day.
Isn't
But
he
he
a traitor
said,
to the Nationals.
"I know, right?
Get on this podcast, Bryce, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, right." He said that if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought about it and I was like, well, what scares me? And I was like, I want to have generational wealth.
Okay.
I want
Yeah.
to make wealth. I want to make sure my kids and their kids and their kids
Legacy,
have something that can be passed down to them. So, where it started, the original, like that seed, everybody has that, like that moment and that seed where like, this is possible. Like, this is why I want to do this, was when we had our kid back in September of last year. We thought, okay, well, how can we save for college? And I was listening to this podcast, and it was this guy, Robert Kiyosaki, I believe his name is.
Okay.
He's a big real estate mogul.
Love that guy.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I'm not really into him, but not that I don't like him, but I just don't really listen to a lot of what he does. But
Right.
he said, he was talking, and he was like, yeah, you want to know how I got my kid's college paid for? And the guy was like, well, no, how'd you do that? And he's like, well, I bought a house. Every time I had a kid, I bought them a house, and it was like their house. I bought it, and then I put it on a 30-year mortgage, originally, so I would qualify for it. And then about 2 years in, I'd refinance it into a 15-year mortgage, and I'd get renters in there, so it paid for itself. And then that way, by the time the kid turns 18, the house is completely paid off.
Yep.
And then when the kid turns 18, we give them 3 options. Number 1, they can sell the house for college, so therefore their college is paid for. Number 2, they can take it over and they can be a landlord. They can do the short-term rental, whatever they want to do with it. Or number 3, they can sell it and invest it in something else. But if they want to sell it, invest in something else, or they want to sell it at all, they have to hire a financial advisor. So that way they're not just being idiots at the age of 18.
And blowing the fucking money on strippers and cocaine.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So that was that moment of like, you know what? We can make somebody else. So right now, this dude staying at my house is helping pay for my kid's college.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Amazing, bro. Yeah.
It's
that's awesome
it's thinking ahead. It's because I had a friend from high school. Her mom did that. So my mom actually bought a house a couple years ago. It was the house that my friend's mom had been renting, and that rental payment was paying for her house that she bought. So she had the townhouse was paid off completely by renters, and then now her home was getting paid off by that income. So like it all made a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, and dude, you don't understand. I mean, my family used to rent from a guy when I was in high school. We lived with him for like 4 or 5 years, and like a couple years later when we moved out, I did the math, man. We paid like almost $50,000 of that dude's like mortgage.
Oh, dude, my mom's been in.
And I mean, but the thing is that he took that. By this point, just to make a long story short, he has like 8 different houses in this area, man.
You imagine 50,000 by 8, bro.
Like,
Right.
Yeah, man. And they're all living good. I see his daughter's about to get married to my friend from high school. Bougie, yeah. Like they're just doing like the parties right now. Like they're going all out, and he can do that because of the investments that he's made.
And he's smart, so he's probably doing a lot of stuff. He's also probably doing house hacking. We rented a house for like 9 years, and I did the math, and I was like, damn, bro, we should have just bought this fucking house. Guy wouldn't sell it though. My mom would try to buy it from me, he wouldn't sell it. And then one day he'd always come pick up the rent in the Tesla. One day I was like, hey man, I'll come drop it off. Got his address. He lived in Shenstone. Big houses, and he was renting his basement out. So not only is he making money off rentals, he's also renting his basement for the house that he's living in. So I was like, dude, this guy's just making passive income, bro.
Yeah.
Like he knows what he's doing.
Dude, I tell you what, like, again, this podcast I listen to, it's best advice I ever got when it comes to leasing something. It said there's 4 things that you will always lease, and the only 4 things that you will ever lease. He said if it flies, if it floats, or it drives, or it fucks, you will lease it.
Okay.
Those are the 4 things you lease.
Yeah.
Flies, floats, drives, or fucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what people don't realize is the people that have like the even rappers and stuff, they have like these high-end vehicles. And I know a lot of my clients have higher-end vehicles, and you're like, damn, like that must be crazy. Like, like a Rolls Royce or a Bentley. Oh, it's a lease, man. I'll turn it in 3 years.
Right.
Get the newer one. Because they say, if you really want to get that image, you get the lease in because you get the set payments. Obviously don't go over your mileage or whatever the structure is on your lease. Could be 2 years, 5 years, whatever. And then in 2 years, bring it back, and now you got the brand new one.
Right.
So you're always in a new vehicle, and it's always like whatever. If it's got no sentimental value to you, just keep doing that. I mean, I'm a car guy, so I'm like, I want to own my car, right?
Right.
But the more I talk to my clients, and the more I talk, like you just said, a lease is pretty dope because you have the newest and the best.
You don't think about maintenance as much because they take care of
They
it.
take
It's 2 years. It's 3 years tops, right? Let's say if you
Yeah.
did a 5-year lease for like, I don't know, fucking 100,000 miles or some shit. And it's not your daily driver because then you're going to rack up the mileage. But you got a nice car, you take it out, take the family out, whatever, enjoying it. And then let's say 2025, you trade it in. Now you got a 2025 Audi or whatever it may be. It's like, boom. Now you're in the newest, latest, greatest.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not fucking drowning in debt because, your lease is up. There you go. Or if you don't want to lease again, cool. Here you go.
Yeah, you can actually continue paying and just kind of take over.
You can
the
buy
payments
it.
if
You can buy it
wanna
off.
own
Yeah. So I used to work at Audi, so I see a lot of people come in and buy their leases because they got better rates on the value of the vehicle because they paid it down. But then they bought it for like that second rate. So it was basically good for them, but unless they went over miles and then you were fucked. It was like stupid, like 16 cents a mile or some shit. Some people come in like 10,000 miles over, so you can already imagine the math.
Damn.
Like hella upside down.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you the landlord in me says, keep leasing houses. Like 100%. Leasing's great.
keep leasing.
Yeah. But the guy that's just trying to help people out tells you, like, if you lease where you live, like, you're just literally, like, burning money. Like, you're walking up to your landlord and you might as well just burn cash in front of him. Yeah. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, seriously.
You're not building any equity. I mean, you got to. It's not an asset unless it works for you. It makes money for you.
I said that on one of our podcasts where I was like, if the house that you're living in it and you're not really doing much with it, it's not really an asset. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, what you said was a house isn't an asset.
If you're living
It's a liability. And then the person that was on here was like, no, it's only a liability if you're living in it.
I
it's
think
an
that's what I
asset if
said.
it's making you money.
I mean, it depends. Think about like a market bank account, right? So
Yeah.
like it's something that when you pay a mortgage, yeah, the interest you're wasting money for sure.
Yeah.
But if you pay every dollar you put in the principal, you can think of that as putting it in a savings account, because then when it's paid off in 30 years, 15 years, whatever, and you sell it, you're getting all that money
back.
right
Yeah.
back. And
Yeah.
but you're at the whim of the market, right?
Exactly.
So if you bought a house in 2001. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna hang on to this for 6-7 years, and then 2009 comes, and you're sitting there like, well, shit, that was a bad idea,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because you lost all your money because of the market.
This recent explosion of that's not the right word, but like the whole thing that went on the market's crazy. My buddy bought a house for 300,000 and sold it 3 years after he bought it for 500,000. He was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna sell it right now."
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But the problem is, then
gotta
now you're
relocate.
re-entering into that market
Yeah,
of then
yeah.
paying for overpriced
But thankfully,
houses.
he found a private sale of somebody whose family member had passed away, so they're just trying to liquidate the house.
Yeah.
So he got blessed where he found
Yeah.
something with property, single family home. So, and then the only stipulation was he had to have his townhouse sold within like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, do you see the market? You're gonna sell your house in 4 days.
We know what happened to the rental market in 2001, right? Rental market like basically tripled because everybody was sitting there and they were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna sell my house. I got like
Yeah.
200 grand in equity. I can
Yeah.
sell it and make it." And they're like, "I'll just rent a place out for like 6 months." And they rented the place out, and they're like, "Wait, all right, we're just waiting for it to crash. We're waiting for it to crash," and they're just sitting there
Dang.
waiting
Dude,
and waiting and
there's
waiting.
people even in this neighborhood, and if you looked at, it was the shittiest time to rent, man.
Yeah.
If you looked at rental prices, I lived here in 2016. I had a 2-bedroom for $1350. When I was looking places here, when that whole boom went off, I mean, I kind of went out, left my lease.
Like last year, this year, what
Last year,
okay.
the prices for the same, I got the same apartment, just like a building. I was like, hey, I lived here before. I
Yeah.
the same apartment, $2,000.
Yeah,
And then I got in this one, and I was like, fuck, these prices are crazy. But what's happening is people are selling their houses.
Yep.
They got a large sum of money, and they can't either the pricing is still too high, or they want to build a house, or whatever it may be. And they're renting, right? So now there's people in these apartments that have like a fuck ton of money that are just waiting on a house to buy.
yeah, but that money's just slowly.
But in the
going away.
meantime, places like this understood like, yo, people will pay a lot of money to rent because they got nowhere else to go. So
Right.
Yeah.
prices went up. I
But
got
also-
a 1-bedroom, bro. I'm north of 2,000 for this shit. I should have bought a house. You know?
Again, this is how like obsessive I got in the real estate, right? Looking into it, and you look at, okay, who buys real estate, right? So one of the largest markets or largest demographics of people entering the real estate market right now are millennials. How big are millennials? The millennials are mad. Like the amount of millennials out there is just absurd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you think about, okay, what kind of jobs are millennials getting? Well, they're not getting the best jobs ever, right? Because we're stuck in a job market that no one's ever seen before, right?
Yeah.
So these people aren't qualifying for mortgages. So then how do they live in? They got to live somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So they rent,
rent.
right? So you become a long-term rental, which is what our plan is to do. We want to start out with a short-term rental portfolio, and then we're going to grow to like long-term, and then maybe eventually flips or wholesaling houses and stuff. But you look at your demographics, and then right behind millennials come Gen Z. Gen Zs aren't they're sitting there with these art degrees and stuff, and they're wondering why they're not getting these jobs, and they're like, well, I don't qualify for this mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then these baby boomers are dying, so then all these but there's more Gen Z and millennials entering the market than there are baby boomers dying and giving up
Yeah.
their houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, that's where the supply and demand comes
yeah,
in.
supply and demand will always be a motherfucker, man.
Right.
We're in anything we do in the mercy of supply and demand. I mean, look at the price of eggs.
Right.
You know,
Wasn't I just telling
you
about
were
that?
the one telling me. And I went to Walmart yesterday, and like, dude, the produce and meat sections completely empty.
That's wild.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, I think people are worried or something about the supply and demand. I mean,
Yeah.
they know people are going to sell out, so they
Yeah.
shoot the pricing up.
Yeah, like everything, like the railroad strike that was going on, that's huge for real estate, because how does lumber get transported?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By rail. So like the
Yeah.
rail goes on strike, you're not gonna be able to build houses. You're gonna go even further behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So what I did, anybody that's Wall Street Journal, they had this. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they had a promo for like $4 a month for their subscription, and I did it, and it was locked in for like 12 months, and like I've learned so much from that. I mean,
Okay.
you go in there and just read they're very like unbiased. I mean, in
Yeah.
my opinion, they just go in there and they just tell you like, hey, this is the facts of like
Yeah.
the current economy. This is what's happening, and like that's where I learned like, the biggest thing that affects the housing market is supply and demand. Out of everything, that Fed interest rates, whatever you want to say, it's supply and demand. So like,
Yeah.
what affects supply
Yeah.
and what affects demand is the entry of people coming into the market looking for houses, and then your supply is how fast can we make houses.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
so behind right now. So it's
Yeah,
just
super behind. I mean, West Virginia is the next boom. My sister bought a house up there, but it's crazy because, like, she was looking at buying a house, and it was like 190,000 for the townhouse, and then she looked at it a month later, it was 210. Then she looked at it a month later, it was 218, and she was like, "Fuck, I gotta buy it now."
Yeah.
because it's just skyrocketed.
It's that
I think
FOMO.
now, yeah, now it's like, upwards of like 250, 260. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be like the same as Loudoun County, where it's like $300,000, $400,000,
Eventually,
$500,000 for
they're
a townhouse.
I mean,
But yeah, like you said, FOMO. Like I was like then you're like, damn, if I'd have bought it 3 months ago, I'd have paid $30,000 less for it. But supply and demand. I mean, they're seeing people realize the value of those houses, and now everyone wants to live out there, right? And now it's like, well, fuck, we don't have enough houses built,
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, she was the last house that was built, and then there was like a lot of about 9 more townhouses, and those were already sold before they were built. It was like basically like get on the ground level type thing they were doing. So it was like, yeah, that demand was crazy.
Yeah.
I've seen Charlestown. I mean, anything like, I guess not too far from DC is like developing pretty crazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at like another thing. Google Scholar is a great thing, by the way. If you're ever looking to look up research something, like Google Scholar gives you the actual like research paper of it.
Okay.
And I Google Scholared like how COVID affected real estate, right? Because COVID affects everything, COVID, whatever. So COVID, I mean, how did COVID affect the creation of lamps? Like, I mean, I'm sure there's something on it.
Yeah.
But how did it affect real estate was that, people working from home now. So, right. So like people didn't need to live close to DC anymore because their jobs and their companies were like, okay, well, we can actually do the same exact work.
Yeah.
We can get rid of building leases. So like I have a buddy that works for JK, right? I told you about him.
Yeah.
He does commercial moving. Like he's a salesperson for it. So he's told me, he's like, man, commercial moving's dead. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because people are just getting rid of their office buildings. They don't need it anymore.
They're probably saving money on overhead too,
Yep.
and like things like that.
Yeah, they get the same exact job done with somebody sitting on their ass at home. So people are like, you know what, I still like this area because I rooted myself here, but I don't want to be like in Loudoun County. I want to be where it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So like, everybody flocks to Charlestown. So
Yeah.
then what happens is, again, supply and demand. The supply of houses is low, demand is high for those houses, so the prices of the houses just skyrocket.
Yeah. That remote work really fucked a lot of. Well, opened the eyes, I guess, that a lot of stuff can be done from like remotely or from home. Like I have people that were. I know that like the data centers and all of them were looking to move over here. Then they realized that a lot of people can work remotely, so there's no need for like 100 offices.
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, shit. Now we built 100 offices, nobody wants to rent it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole job market is changing. Honestly, like we're definitely moving into the the information age, the digital age.
Right.
So even the way that we're conducting business, what I mean, or the way that we're structuring our businesses,
The automation of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, automation, even drop shipping, shit like that. Even like sales and stuff is changing.
Even
man.
like McDonald's opening up their very first fully automated McDonald's.
Fuck
That's
McDonald's.
wild.
I went to
Yeah.
buy McChicken, man. And it used to be $1. It's like two something now.
Dude,
man.
I've been scarred from McDonald's. I just saw that video of how they make their chicken
Oh,
nuggets,
yeah.
and it's in that tube.
Yeah.
And like,
I chose not to watch it because I like their McNuggets.
yeah, what are the odds that chicken's ever been alive? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true,
slim
yeah.
to none. Made in the
Yeah.
lab like COVID. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No, they're actually doing that. I saw that they made genetically modified salmon and threw them in there with the regular salmons, and then so they changed the normal salmons because they started breeding or
Yeah,
some
changing
weird
the gene
shit.
pool and everything. They're making massive salmons.
Yeah,
Ugh.
just making it weird.
I mean, that's why everyone's getting taller and shit, man. A bunch of fucking GMO kids.
That's what
man.
I'm saying.
It used to be them corn-fed motherfuckers
Right.
from
Yeah.
the fields. Now it's like, nah, these motherfuckers eating the fish from China, man, or
right.
something,
Oh,
bro.
shit,
Yeah.
Why are you 6'9" at 14 years old, man? Like
I
chill
am
the fuck
12.
out.
Yeah, right. Great movie.
Yeah. You see that the football player that they were making fun of? He was a 12-year-old with a mustache.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
looks old as
But
fuck.
did you see that he had actually had it since he was like 6 or something like
yeah,
that?
and he had like he put on a
Yeah.
fake tattoo for swag, but he looked like he was like 35.
Dude was
like,
yoked though.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Damn.
like he been in the gym at 12. Like,
Yeah, they had it. I mean, we had them kids like that in school, though. You remember those kids? Dude, I remember this kid
Not like
named
that.
Jared Cromwell. Shout out to Jared Cromwell. Dude, I joined the track team, right? Because I wanted to be competitive. And it was either that or soccer. And I was like, man, I've never done soccer. Soccer's cool. Let me try out track. So I joined the team. I skipped the soccer tryouts, and I go to the track tryouts. And we're doing, I think it was the 100, right? The 100-yard dash. And they put me against this fucking guy, Jared Cromwell, who's like fit as a rock, right? Like, this motherfucker was like 2% body fat. And I'm in there in my Jordans, like, because I don't have track shoes. And he's in the whole fucking, get up. Dude, they say, go. I think he beat me by like fucking, I don't know. Fucking, he did it in like 3 times faster than I did, bro. I think he was like close to beating the state record.
Damn.
On the first day of tryouts.
Damn.
I was like, well, there goes my chances, bro.
Damn.
Like, you remember Marcus Finney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Marcus Finney. That dude, when people you follow on Facebook and you just watch their life, that dude's getting jacked in the gym now.
Yeah.
Talk about
big
2%
motherfucker.
body fat.
So his mom worked at the school as a counselor. So I was like, yo, Miss Crawford, your son just fucking destroyed me on the track. She's gay. He's had a personal trainer since he was 7. Ooh. What?
Yeah.
Huh?
What the fuck? Or is it 7 or 12? Whichever one. I was like, God damn, no wonder. Like, this dude is like fit. Like, he looked like David Goggins. Man.
Yeah.
Like, the fucking guy was an animal.
Yeah.
Right? And then you realize, like, dude, there's people like that. I remember my track coach was like, I used to run a 6-minute mile. Wasn't good enough. Now I run a 4-minute mile. It's like, if you can't run a 4 or 5-minute mile, this probably isn't for you. And I'm like sitting there like, damn, my fastest mile is like 6:45.
I'm a 4-minute lap.
Right? So I was like, this probably ain't for me, bro. These people are like genetically just advanced, bro, or they got the training for it that I didn't have. You know, 'cause soccer's one thing, but damn, track is a whole different animal.
I couldn't do it.
But yeah, that kid, that's funny as shit, man. Mustache coming in. My nephew's my height. He's 13 years old. He's got deep ass. So he'll call me. He's like, hey, Uncle Dan, you want to go paintballing? I'm like, who the fuck is this? Anthony. I'm like, God damn, bro. Like, he'll see me on Instagram and be like, I can bench more than you. I bet you could, little 13-year-old. Damn, right? Yeah.
PEDs.
Right?
Yo,
Yeah, he's all natty, bro. Liver King shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about you? I'm curious, man. What's your bench? Because you big on the gym, right? Or you big on working out? You had the
I
home
was
gym
until I had
and
a
everything?
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're curling the baby.
Yeah, now, yeah. I mean, honestly, having a kid changed the dynamic completely. Like, you get off work, you can't go to the gym, you got to go home with your kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, got a nice home gym in the basement, but it ain't the same, man. Working out in
Yeah.
your basement versus, like,
I
being
thought
there.
about that,
It's I mean, it's worth it for, like, those quick little workouts you go down there, but don't expect to get big in your own home gym. I
Yeah.
mean, some people can do it, but I mentally couldn't do it. But,
Yeah.
I mean, prior to the kid, let's see, I had a deadlift my max deadlift was 525. I have a video of that, verify that. Bench was about like 325
Okay.
before the
Okay.
kid. My leg day is,
I fucking hate like that. I had like
day,
that
right?
too, man.
I never really documented my squat really, but
Yeah.
but I mean, I was all about the gym, and you kind of had to with the job that I'm in, but.
Right.
But once you have a kid, you got a whole different
Priorities.
job. So
Yeah.
I mean, I still work out just to kind of keep up with people, but
Yeah.
I ain't pressing the world off me anytime soon.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where like the ego lift is such a dangerous thing because if you're not getting paid for it, even soccer, we have a buddy who tore his MCL or PCL or some shit playing recreational soccer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude,
And
even with heavy lifting,
Yeah.
if it's not your lifestyle, or like if it's not your source of income, it's not paying the bills.
Yeah.
I mean, you work out to stay consistent, but
Asset
damn,
and liability, man. It's a
Yeah.
liability at that
yeah.
point.
Dude, I think that's the biggest thing I took away from Robert Kiyosaki, bro, was that asset and liability. You know what I mean? List, trying to figure that out. He has some
you're a
good-
liability, bro.
You
I'm
should,
about
you
to
should
get rid of
definitely. You should read his book. I think it's called like the 4 Money Quadrant or something like that, dude. You should.
Yeah, he's got Rich Dad Poor Dad.
That's a
Yeah, I
classic.
started reading that one, but my ADHD kicked in, and I
Oh,
was
yeah.
just like, all right, I'm done. Where are the pictures at? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but now I mean, another podcast that's actually really good to listen to. Shout out to this one is the Bigger Pockets podcast. You ever listen to that one?
Okay, I think I've heard the title. I've actually been
I'm gonna have to
recommending-
look into
So
it,
I used
man.
to. Okay, so I did a video for a dude that lives in California, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he came out here, and he was helping this company make a course on real estate, like just
Mm-hmm.
all like house hacking, Airbnb, everything, right? And he would call me and be like, "Hey, he recommended that podcast
Yeah.
to me. What's it called one more time?"
It's the Bigger Pockets podcast.
And he was telling me he was trying to help me out with like real estate ideas. I just feel like at that time I probably didn't have like the capital or even like the tenacity, I guess, to kind of just go on a different
Yeah.
like venture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was saying very good things about that podcast, and he was also recommending Robert Kiyosaki on some instances.
Yeah.
Just to kind of change, because I think a lot of times people it's a mental shift when you start going from I'm exchanging my time for money or for wages versus
Right.
you starting to make different forms of income, having different cash flow. Because the reason why I asked you about like your the goal for your for you and your wife is because I'm genuinely curious. For me, I would love to have passive income where I'm not 100% exchanging my
Right.
time for money. I kind of want to have more of my time back. You
Right.
know what I mean? Where I'm not physically in a place for 8 hours or whatever,
Right.
9 to 5 days a week, but can still make money without me having to exchange again my time for money. That's
Yeah.
the position ultimately that I want to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you when you work for somebody else, you're helping them buy that Lamborghini, you're helping them buy that second house,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So I just, our goal is to create, a business out of it, and
Yeah.
we did start an LLC just for this house, but it's going to
Awesome,
expand
yeah.
into like, we want to make a self-sustaining business to where
Yeah.
we have, it's called Butterfield Property Enterprises.
Let's go.
and
that sounds.
Yeah,
that's-
BPE, right? Well, we kind of picked that because like our daughter's name's Paisley, and our son's name's gonna be Ellis.
Nice.
And so our last name is Butterfield, so it's like Butterfield Paisley Ellis, you know what I mean?
Ooh,
So
yeah,
and
that's
Butter
nice.
Property
No more kids
Enterprises.
after that, like-
Right, so our logo's gonna be pretty cool. The B's gonna be something, but like the P's gonna be like a pink color.
I got a
for
logo
Paisley.
person if you need a logo person.
I
Man.
do.
She's awesome.
I will.
Kelsey, shout out to Hard Hits. She does all custom logos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we plan to do like it's kind of like a company and company kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like so we're gonna have like
yeah.
the main company, and then we're gonna have a
Yeah.
branch company for
Yes,
like
yeah.
for like the remodeling and the construction. And then we're gonna have like a
umbrellas, man, yeah.
property management company under that, and then like a maybe like a real estate broker or something like
Yeah.
that under that. So just kind of a self-sustaining self-sustaining company to create that generational wealth.
And that's how I was gonna say. That's how generational wealth is created. That's how it all flows, man. You start somewhere, and then next thing you know, you've got this whole thing. Because like you said, instead of dumping money into someone who does like handyman work or remodeling, you invest in remodeling, and now you're
your own remodeler.
It's like internal investing within yourself,
right?
Because you're making the paychecks.
You
out to
hire
your
yourself.
company. Yeah,
my
you're
property
making the
management
paycheck.
company, like they're sitting there and somebody calls and they're like, "Hey, I need the pipe burst." Okay, well, let me call the guy that works for this other company that's my company, and then you get them to contract.
All that money's circulating. I've met a lot of people that do that. A lot of my clients.
Is that what your brother does too? Also,
he does remodeling.
But he has.
But if he started investing in homes, then it would be like it would all cycle back and forth. Yeah, so that's what that thing that needs to happen is he needs to start investing in property. So he's got the remodeling down. He needs the property now because once he gets the property down, he hires himself, pays himself. That money from the house goes into the house, but also goes to the business, and then all that money at the end of the day is right there within himself.
Yeah, and the best piece of advice that I got too was that use your W-2 income. No one's gonna sit there in their first house and be able to quit their job on their first house.
Oh no,
you're still gonna have to work. You got to use that W-2 income.
It's a long game, man. It takes 21 years to be 21 years old. You can't do it in a year,
right?
So you got to put the work in, even the first 2-3 houses.
Yeah,
right. It's with anything you do.
Yeah, I was gonna say just with even before I started doing the video and video production, I was still had my job. You know what I mean, and was doing video on the side.
Yeah.
So I got to that transitionary point where I'm like, dude, I just made in one shoot what I made in like 2 weeks of fucking my job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's huge.
His job was fucking. You heard that?
Not my.
But even as like right now, like I'm a one man band, but the goal is to pick up employees, right? So like it has to start somewhere though. Right. I'm not gonna go tomorrow and hire 10 people, and I can't fucking feed their mouths,
right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I'm doing. I gotta gradually get there to where I can
scale
have
it.
that. Exactly.
Scaling businesses, man. And that's how we were doing the scale in the Airbnb thing. Is like our goal was to have one in 1 year, which we've met that goal. We want to have 2 by next year, so add 2, so we have 3. And then in 5 years, we want to have 10 properties. And then what's weird, you start talking about long-term goals. In 10 years, we want to have 50 properties. And then in 20 years, we actually want to own like 2 or 3 apartment complexes.
Let's go, bro.
That's where you want to be, man.
So you have the whole game plan spelled out. I'm trying to give you a fist bump. You got the whole plan. You got the whole thing planned out.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the military. I learned my drill instructor or drill sergeant told me. He said, you got to look at your 50-meter target. So when you're qualifying at the range, different distances pop up, and like there's your 50-meter target. That's the easiest target to hit. If you miss the 50-meter, you need to get discharged from the military. But then you got like your 100, your 150, your 250, 300, and it's like he's like, you guys keep looking at your 300-meter target. Like stop, like focus on that 50-meter target right in front of you, and that's like what you're gonna do tomorrow.
Yeah.
How can you start the baby steps to start right now? So I always tell like my wife, and she's like, oh my god, like how are we gonna get like 3 houses in 2 years, blah blah blah. And I'm like, babe, 50-meter target.
Yeah.
Let's get this house going. Let's get this house booked up, make it perfect, and then we can worry about that 100-meter target.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing that people could take away too, is to stop looking so far forward. Because people worried about, when I'm 50, it's like, dude, you're not even 30 yet.
You don't know what's gonna happen.
Stop worrying about all of that and just dial in right here. Because when you dial in right here, like you said, man, that 50 meters, if you can hit that, move on to the next one. Move on to the next one. But if you're if you're not hitting it, you should probably reevaluate what you're doing to begin with. Like, let's say you're trying to invest in an Airbnb, but you can't, let's say your income's not enough to do that. Well, maybe you should reevaluate that before you start thinking about how you can make money on 5 houses.
Right.
So that's definitely good advice, man.
I'm predicting, bro, we're gonna see you like the Forbes guy you saw at that.
But I won't be in a car.
You won't be in a BMW.
No, I mean maybe I'll be a lifted truck.
I'm gonna be looking at like little vacation spots.
He said maybe, but I'll be in a lifted truck.
I'll be in a lifted truck. You won't be able to see me.
You don't want to see him in the BMW in the purple suit, bro. He's gonna be sitting too high.
Right. I'll shake everybody's hand after that. Good to see you, sir. Like, damn, soft hands.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, I need to go get a nice little spot to rent out, and then it's gonna be BPE, bro, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That motherfucker. I'm gonna call him person. Yo, I'm gonna borrow this house for a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I'll send y'all a link to the house so you guys can put up something.
Yeah. I saw it on Facebook, so I gotta share it. I wanted to see if we can do all this first and then put all that out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, that's definitely awesome. That's exciting. The first house in 1 year, you're gonna have 2 within the next one.
Yeah.
10 in 5 years.
Yep.
It's definitely achievable, man.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have you on here again for just like an update, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all that stuff, bro.
Yeah.
Just because it's cool, it's interesting. I mean, again, a lot of people don't, I think again the biggest thing is just like having that mental shift and like kind of like having like, I guess you could say the guts or like the want to like do something different outside of what you're already doing.
Determination.
Determination, and again, like I think you could start real easy too, right? Just doing like your research and kind of like learning about whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of builds up your confidence, and talking to people that have already done it can definitely put you way ahead, you know what I mean, of where you're at right now.
Yeah, and there's things like even like the smallest scale possible. They're called REITs, real estate investment trusts. It's basically trading on like the stock market. You basically, you can give $10, $15, whatever. You can give $100, how much you want, and it goes into this fund that basically is almost like a hedge fund. And these people go out and they buy real estate. They buy apartment complexes, and then you slowly get the returns.
You own a small percentage
Yeah,
of
you
that.
own a
They started doing that not too long ago, right?
Right,
Because they
it's
started
a new
treating
thing.
like stocks. They said, why not do that with property?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can
So
be a part owner of a house.
Yeah,
or
it's like
apartment
crowdfunding
complex.
for
Yeah.
real estate, basically,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can get your returns from it. And it's just, that's even like the smallest scale to start out in real
Yeah.
estate. So you can build your portfolio off of that, and build up to building and get your first Airbnb. But I'm a big quote guy. Talking about taking that first step. A quote from Will Smith. With the backhand, whatever.
Okay.
He said in a video that I saw once. He said the best things in life are on the other side of fear. Right. So like if you're afraid to do it, the best thing in life is on that other side. So he was talking about skydiving. Like the
Yeah.
best thing was experiencing. It was the most fearful thing was that initial jump off the plane.
Yeah.
But the best thing about that whole thing was once he jumped off.
Yeah.
Then it was that free fall. So it's
Yeah.
like the best things are just right on that other side of just
Yeah,
being
fear
afraid.
is the limiting factor. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
But fear also saves our lives, because you imagine if we're like fearless and we're trying to fucking fight lions with our hands
Yes.
and shit.
Yeah.
But that's a different thing. That's like the primitive side of us.
Right.
But yeah, no. Sometimes the biggest fears are what's gonna happen tomorrow. But and you're a man of quotes, bro. The Bible says even the birds don't worry about what they're gonna eat tomorrow. So don't worry about that. Worry about today. You know.
50-meter targets.
Yeah, exactly. Look, man, there's a million ways to cut it, but it's at the end of the day, 50-meter targets.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Anything else you want to talk about? Y'all good? How you feeling?
Feel good.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
anything you want
Let's
to
do
talk
it.
about in particular? Anything else, or is that? I think.
Nah, it doesn't, man.
It's pretty
I think,
solid.
yeah, I
man.
think we're gonna have to get an update. You know what I mean? Maybe next year talk about the two.
Catch Billy at the
houses,
Costco parking lot, 2
Yeah,
a.m.
we can do the next podcast at one of our
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man.
that'd be
Yeah, that'd
fun.
be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
Yeah,
really
you can come
fun,
down there.
yeah.
You guys can have your family come down there. It's a great place. Bryce especially. It's it's a good town for family. It's just the perfect size. It's not too big of a mountain, but it's just big enough where you can get a good
Yeah.
time in.
And
Yeah.
it's great you did the research on that too, man, because that I think that's one of the biggest things people will probably skip out on, and then they'll go to Airbnb in like some random place. Like,
Yeah.
we had an Airbnb once in South Carolina, and it was like in between like real shady neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right.
Real shady, like-
I've experienced both of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple times too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did that. Like the pictures inside were beautiful. Look like a beach house, and we get there and we're like, fuck. I was like, God damn, bro. Like my wheel's about to be missing tomorrow.
One time actually when I was working with G-Code, we rented out an Airbnb in Texas, and like the pictures outside and inside, everything was super modern, super nice, and then we pull up and then every other house is like broken down, bro. Like it just looks so sketchy, bro.
Google Maps works wonders.
Yeah,
You
that's
just go on
true.
Google
Yeah,
Maps.
That's something we did.
We missed that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we missed that part. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, another market research for Airbnbs you can look at is just actually Airbnb itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Find out an area that you're looking at. Pretend you're a traveler, go look.
Yeah.
Find out how many houses. If you look in an area and you put like random dates and it pops up with 1,000 houses in a matter of like 5 square miles, is that really a good place? Because it's a huge
Saturated.
saturated
Market,
right?
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it may sound like a good idea, but are you really going to get your return? Then also look at your superhost in that area. Start scrolling through the pictures, see what their house looks like, what they offer. Like one thing
Yeah.
that we're going to build too at our Bryce house is we're going to get a golf simulator in the
Oh, that's dope.
yeah.
in the garage.
Man, you're just attracting clientele.
Right,
That's the
what I'm
biggest
saying,
thing.
because
man.
people go down
Yeah.
there in the winter that go down in the summer to play golf, and they go down in the winter to
so
like
you have a really good working knowledge of your ideal client. That's amazing.
Yeah,
bro.
and that's the other thing too is that
understand your
you
client.
look at like for any business, like you paint that perfect client. Like who do you want to see walk through your door,
Yeah.
and then you figure out what they want, and then you give them that, you provide them that.
Yeah.
So
So you've done your due diligence, man. I think one of the biggest things to take away from this too, man, is there's a lot of depth to people, right? Billy,
Yeah.
we came on here initially, we started talking about law enforcement, and I
Yeah.
think that people thought that's where this podcast was going to stay, but no. Dude,
Yeah.
you're a man of many hats, and
Yeah.
you're a man of great knowledge and
Listen,
of
Billy,
great
I'll be honest with you,
understanding.
bro. When we were in English class, bro, I never thought we would have a conversation like this, bro.
I didn't think so either, man. I'll give you that real fist bump this time
There you
now,
go.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we had one class together, and I was only at county like one every other day because I was going to Monroe Tech, the technology center. So
Yeah.
I was, barely at school. at Loudoun County specifically. So I mean, I remember you were funny as fuck, bro. The funniest motherfucker, bro. Like seriously,
Yeah.
bro. Like you like, and I don't know if it was like this for all classes, but our teacher almost like let you give us comedic relief. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
Who was it again? Was
I think her name was Miss Ives.
it English?
English, yeah, English.
Maybe it was. Oh,
Dude, this was
yeah, I remember that.
this is a long time ago.
This was
yeah.
so long ago. It was
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah.
Damn, yeah, this was 12 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
No, that was. I definitely. Again, we talk about that brain chemistry stuff. It's definitely changed a little bit. Take it a little
Yeah.
more serious, but
Yeah.
but it's still just. I'm that comic relief guy on the squad. Like I sit there.
Yeah.
And, like I do some things that sometimes can be like, should you really say that, man? Like, and I'm like, whatever. I'm the police.
I'm,
know?
part of life, man.
I'm
That's
sure.
part of
I'm
life.
sure you're probably because I feel like some of those things you can't take away. I'm sure you've probably been like that since you were probably.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You gotta be
That could
class
also be a
clown.
saving grace, man. That could be what made you who you are today. Even though that brain chemistry has changed, is you always have that little bit of you that's got that comedic
Yeah.
relief, and
Yeah.
that helps you handle things. I'm sure you crack jokes at your therapist and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, sometimes it's not good to crack a joke over a dead body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah.
sitting there like, man, you ate too much before you died, man. You shit yourself. You know?
Oh, damn,
Yeah.
I heard that's actually pretty common too. Actually,
Oh yeah,
That's
you
one of
do,
the last
100%.
things that your body does,
Yeah, the worst ones are the rotters,
Defecate.
man. The ones that have been there for weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to pick
like-
them up, and quick story, real quick, not to be too gruesome, but my first rotter, like been there for weeks. We
Yeah.
get there, like blowing up a balloon, black skin. He was a white dude, and I'm going. We're gonna go move him into the body bag, and the detective's like, hey man, you get the legs, and I'm like, all right, cool, sounds good. I'll get the ankles. He's like, no, start at the knees, and I said, start? Like, what do you mean start? Like, and he's like, just start at the knees. And I'm like, all right. So I grab under the knees, and it's like, you can feel it through the latex gloves, and you're like, oh, this is disgusting. It felt like it was just weird. It was like almost like wet syrup almost in my hands. And then I'm picking him up, and I felt the bone, and then we're going to move him, and it slides down.
Yeah.
It slides, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Start at the knees.
Yeah.
It's like deer, man.
Yes. I was like, start at the knees? And he's like, yeah, you're going to finish at the ankles, I promise. And I'm like, is that some weird sexual joke? Like, what do you mean, dude?
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't realize it. It's a lot more than just pulling people over,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Listen, I honestly, I mean,
And if you get pulled over by Billy, just tell him you watch the Off Topic podcast, and he won't sway in any other direction. He'll just acknowledge that you guys
I
pay
follow
attention.
the law, and I enforce the law
Exactly.
accordingly. You know what I mean?
yeah, he'll appreciate that you tuned in.
He'll give you a high five. He'll give you a real fist bump.
Yeah. I won't leave you hanging. Maybe for a little bit, but
We'll edit that. They don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, sir. Well, Billy, it's been a pleasure, my man.
Yeah,
Anything else you want
appreciate
to tell people, man, before we get out of here?
Nah, man, just honestly treat everybody the way you want to be treated, man. That's the golden rule
there
in
you
life,
go.
man. And
Amen.
that goes to anybody that you deal with in life, a cop, somebody behind the counter, at Target, whatever you're doing.
Yes,
Just-
sir. Give respect first, and if you get it back, great. If you
Yep.
don't, at least you gave it.
We're all human beings, man. We all got lives to get to. We all got places to be. So let's just
Yeah.
try to help each other out get there.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yep.
sir. All
Thanks
right,
for
guys.
coming on, Billy.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
sir. It's
Appreciate
a
you guys.
pleasure. All right,
Yep.
guys. Until the next episode.
See you.